Chapter 348. Harbor City. Red Maple Villa Complex. When the appetizing dishes were placed on the dining table, Tang Yunpeng came down from the second floor with a faint smile. When Xue Jie helped him pull out the chair, Tang Yunpeng waved his hand and motioned everyone to sit down. The food is very sumptuous. I happen to have a good appetite today. Do you want to accompany me to drink? Tang Yunpeng said with a smile. Tang Wei's eyes lit up as he said with a smile, Uncle, do you have some good wine? Any wine is good in my eyes now, said Tang Yunpeng with a smile. From Tang Yunpeng's words, they could hear his happy mood and the smile on their faces immediately turned wider. Tang Wei ran to the kitchen and asked the housekeeper to bring 2 bottles of good wine. Tang Yunpeng looked at Tan Xiu and said with a smile, the old man has agreed to let you handle the matters in Guangyang. I'll rush back to Shisu province tonight, so I'll leave the matters here to you. Don't worry. Tan Xiu nodded. To tell you the truth, Tan Xiu, it would have been good if we could have found you earlier. Tang Yunpeng sighed. It's not too late now, said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. Yeah, it's not too late now. Tang Yunpeng said with a smile. When are you going to Fukang province? Tomorrow morning, said Tan Xiu. I'll have a clear understanding of our Tang family's strength in Guangyang and Fukang. That's right, the Bai family's patriarch, Bai Yang, is now in the detention center. Who's in charge of the Bai family now? Bai Yang's younger brother, Bai Tao, said Tang Yunpeng. Tan Xiu nodded. After dinner, Tang Yunpeng left with the 6 bodyguards trained by the Tang family, leaving only Tan Xiu, Tang Wei, Xue Jie, and Li Xiaojie in the villa. Aunt Xue, tell me all the forces in Guangyang and Fukang that belong to us. Only after figuring out our strength can I arrange the next step of the plan, said Tan Xiu. Xue Jie nodded and said, in Guangyang, aside from the Starlight Group, we also have several small companies operating the clothing business and advertising company. However, the manager in charge of the clothing business, Lu Yuansheng, died in a car accident 5 days ago. It should be the work of the Yao family. Wei Yuan, who is in charge of the advertising company, was also attacked. Although he survived, he is still in the hospital. In Fukang province, there is a security company secretly established by the Tang family. Jinshin Security Company is not big, but the security members are all trained by the Tang family. There are about 120 people, and the person in charge is Li Wei. In addition, we also have hardware and real estate businesses in Fukang province. On the surface, there are people in charge, but behind the scenes, Li Wei is in charge. Following Xue Jie's narration, Tan Xiu gradually had a clear understanding of the Tang family's strength in Guangyang and Fukang. In terms of business, other than the Starlight Group, the Tang family's other businesses weren't very big. But in terms of military strength, Jinshin Security Company was very good. In addition, Tang Yunpeng left more than 40 people in the villa, and half of them were transferred from Jinshin Security Company. The other half were members responsible for the safety of the Starlight Group. Tan Xiu said, Auntie Xue, please accompany me to the Bai family. Right now, the people of the Bai family must be shaken. We need to appease them. Xue Jie said, your uncle has already. Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt her and seriously said, Aunt Xue, my first uncle is my first uncle, and I am me. Since Guangyang and Fukang's affairs have been handed over to me, I have to express my stance to the Bai family. Just take it as I'm trying to buy people's hearts. Xue Jie's heart shook, and she nodded silently. At this moment, she was getting more and more curious about Tan Xiu, because she realized that the young man in front of her was not only very strong, but also very intelligent. Tan Xiu looked at Tang Wei and said, Brother, you stay here. Rest early, but also pay attention to safety. Let our people be more vigilant. The Yao family suffered a great loss today. I'm afraid that they will be driven to desperate measures and come here to take revenge under the cover of night. Tang Wei nodded and said, Rest assured. I'll arrange it. But you, bring more people to the Bai family. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, if my guess is correct, the Red Maple Villa complex must be under the Yao family's surveillance. If we leave with great fanfare, the other party will know about it. On one hand, Aunt Shui and I will go to the Bai family to appease them. On the other hand, we'll find a more secret and safer place tonight. After that, we'll withdraw from here. Tang Wei nodded and said, I understand. Shortly after, Tan Xiu and Shui Jie left with only 2 bodyguards whom Shui Jie trusted. They climbed over the wall of the villa's relatively secret courtyard, then stopped a taxi on the nearby street and quickly left. At the Bai family's ancestral residence in Harbor City, Bai Tao's face was as gloomy as water. More than a dozen core members of the Bai family were in the ancestral residence. Bai Yang had been arrested, and although there was no final trial, they no longer had any hope. Originally, if something happened, they could still get help from the Tang family. But now, the Tang family couldn't even protect themselves in Guangyang, so how could they have the time to pay attention to the Bai family? Second brother, we have to think of a way. Big brother is now under investigation. Not to mention that we have some problems. Even if there are no problems, the Yao family and the Sun family will fabricate some problems for us. We can't count on the Tang family for now, but we have to think of a way to protect Big Brother. Bai Bing's brows were tightly furrowed, and her tone was filled with impatience. Bai Tao shook his head and said, let's wait. The investigation team wants to find out the result, but it won't be finished in a short time. Besides, they haven't announced it yet, so we still have time. I'll go see Tang Yunpeng tomorrow night. If the Tang family has a way, then we'll see them. If they are helpless now, then our Bai family will start transferring our property and family members. Bai Bing was shocked. Second brother, you want to give up the foundation of our Bai family? Bai Tao forced a smile and said, if Big Brother is really under trial, do you think we can't give it up? You're also a government official, so you should be very clear about what will happen to the rest of our Bai family after Big Brother is put on trial, right? At least 5 or 6 people in our Bai family will either be placed under investigation or removed from their posts. Or, they will be transferred to unimportant posts for retirement. Bai Bing fell into silence, and so did the other core members of the Bai family. They knew that what Bai Tao said made sense. This was the situation in the country. The top members of the family had been overthrown, and the rest of the Bai family would probably not be any better. Suddenly, a member of the Bai family said, second brother, what if our Bai family turns to the Yao family? Is Big Brother? Shut up. Bai Tao's eyes burst with anger as he shouted in a deep voice, let alone the fact that we don't have any chance to join the Yao family, even if we have the chance, we absolutely can't do it. Treachery is the most taboo thing for all the major families in the country. We're tied to the Tang family, and our Bai family won't completely collapse unless the Tang family is destroyed. Besides, even if we join the Yao family, do you think they will treat us well? They will definitely find a way to drink our blood, eat our flesh, and swallow our Bai family cleanly. The Bai family member's complexion changed, and he finally lowered his head in shame. At this time, a strong man strode into the room and said in a deep voice, Brother Tao, there are 4 people outside. One of them is Shui Jie, the general manager of the Starlight Group, and the other claims to be a member of the Tang family, Tan Xiu. Bai Tao's complexion changed. He immediately got up and said, come with me to welcome them. Quickly, Bai Tao, along with more than a dozen members of the Bai family, met Tan Xiu and Shui Jie. However, since they didn't know Tan Xiu, they were somewhat curious about Tan Xiu. Hello, Chief Shui. Bai Tao greeted. Shui Jie faintly smiled and said, Bai Tao, let me introduce you. This is Tan Xiu, the son of Tang Yunda of the Tang family. Big Brother Yunpeng has given Tan Xiu full authority to deal with the problems in Guangyang according to the old master's instructions. Bai Tao's complexion changed. He didn't know anything about Tan Xiu's identity before. The Tang family's old master unexpectedly gave such a big issue in Guangyang and Fukang to a young man to deal with. Could it be did the Tang family want to give up these 2 provinces? Tan Xiu stretched out his hand and said, "Hello, I'm Tan Xiu." Bai Tao worriedly stretched out his hand as he squeezed out a smile and said, "Hello, Mr. Tang. I'm the second son of the Bai family, Bai Tao." Tan Xiu slowly nodded. Looking at Bai Tao's expression, he could guess Bai Tao's thoughts and said, "You're about the same age as my father. If you don't mind, I'll call you second Uncle Bai." Bai Tao stared blankly for a moment before feeling a bit more comfortable inside. He squeezed out a smile and said with a nod, "Nephew Tan Xiu has come here this late at night. May I know what's the matter? Shall we talk here?" Tan Xiu said with a smile. Bai Tao suddenly sobered up and quickly said, "It's my fault for neglecting you. Come, please come inside. Let's talk inside." Immediately, Bai Tao led Tan Xiu and the others into the building. After taking a seat in the hall on the first floor, Bai Tao quickly ordered the others to prepare tea. "No need to trouble yourself, second Uncle Bai," Tan Xiu said. "We came to the Bai family because I have something to tell you. After I'm done, I'll leave." "What is it?" asked Bai Tao. "I know that the Bai family must be in a state of panic now. But I can tell you that it's not necessary," said Tan Xiu. "The Tang family will never give up Guangyang, let alone your Bai family's patriarch. Since my grandfather gave me full authority to solve the problem in Guangyang, I'll do it well. There are some things that I'm afraid you don't know yet. A deputy director of the Starlight Group's finance department of the Tang family was caught by the Yao and Sun families today. I just arrived and not only did I rescue him, I also eliminated more than 30 of their minions. Similarly, give me some time and I'll also rescue your Bai family's patriarch." "What?" The complexions of the Bai family members greatly changed. They were well aware that the Tang family was forced to retreat step by step in Guangyang. Including their Bai family, they had lost a total of more than 20 people. Never did they expect that Tan Xiu would eliminate more than 30 of the Yao and Sun family's minions as soon as he arrived. Wasn't this too amazing? Today's 5 chapters have been released, and the monthly votes list has exploded again and again. Brothers and sisters, please look at the fact that Quiet Night is desperately updating her chapters and support her once or twice. I'm deeply grateful. Chapter 349. Hope. More than a dozen core members of the Bai family suddenly saw hope after hearing Tan Xiu's words. This made their originally uneasy feelings calm down a lot. "Second Uncle Bai, please give me some time," said Tan Xiu. "I'll do my best to use my connections to rescue the Bai family's patriarch. Even if the Tang family loses the game with the Yao family in Guangyang, I won't give up on your Bai family's patriarch. I'll spare no expense to keep him out of prison. This is the worst guarantee I can give." Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, Bai Tao suddenly felt touched. In fact, he had always wanted to get some guarantees from Tang Yunpeng, but Tang Yunpeng didn't say anything for a long time. This situation had actually made him feel a bit of resentment. But Tan Xiu's words had completely dissipated the resentment in his heart. "Tan Xiu, I'll keep your guarantee in mind. I'll also say something to you. My Bai family and the Tang family are inseparable. No matter what plan you have, my Bai family will support you unconditionally. If you want money, give it to me. If you want people, give it to me," Bai Tao said resolutely. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He got up and said, "Let's remember each other's words. It's a gentleman's agreement between us. For the time being, there's no need for the Bai family to act. So what you need to do is to be vigilant to prevent the Yao and Sun families from causing trouble again. We won't stay for long. Just wait for my good news." "All right. I'll send you off." Bai Tao nodded heavily. When everyone went out of the building's door, Tan Xiu suddenly said, "Second Uncle Bai, I'll have to trouble you to get us a car." We sneaked out of the Red Maple Villa complex by climbing over the wall. We didn't want to be noticed by the Yao and Sun families. Bai Tao waved his hand at Bai Bing. Immediately, Bai Bing turned around and returned to the building. A minute later, she handed a few car keys to Tan Xiu and said with a smile, "You can drive any car you like in this courtyard." Tan Xiu glanced at it and said, "That Volkswagen Tiguan. The price of this car is not high, and it will not attract attention." 2 minutes later, Tan Xiu and Xue Jie quickly left with the 2 bodyguards. In the car, Xue Jie asked in surprise, "Tan Xiu, since we want to change to a more secluded place, why don't you let the Bai family help us? They have been operating here for so many years, I believe that there are many hidden places suitable for us to hide in." "Auntie Xue," Tan Xiu said with a faint smile, "it's best not to let them know at this critical time, unless they're really on our side. Who can guarantee that no one from the Bai family has been bribed by the Yao family or the Sun family?" Xue Jie was stunned. Then, she looked at Tan Xiu with a different gaze than before. Low profile. Caution. She originally had some confidence that Tan Xiu would be able to win against the Yao family in Guangyang province. But at this time, hope rose in her heart. Moreover, through Tan Xiu's actions tonight, especially the pacification of the Bai family, she could see that Tan Xiu's methods were very powerful. At the very least, the originally restless Bai family members had been pacified. Even, Tan Xiu had successfully bought people's hearts. "Where are we going now?" asked Xue Jie. "Let's look for a more chaotic place in Harbor City," said Tan Xiu. "I'm talking about a place with a large number of foreigners, where people come and go frequently. Once we move, the number of people will naturally not be small. In order to prevent accidents, we must find a suitable place to hide." Xue Jie stared blankly and asked, "Tan Xiu, you want to find such a place? Aren't you afraid that the news will be leaked?" "Don't be afraid," Tan Xiu said lightly. "As long as we pay attention and think of a way, we can hide well." Although Xue Jie didn't know what Tan Xiu meant by think of a way, she still chose to trust Tan Xiu. After all, Tan Xiu's actions today had convinced her. "Let's go to Hongpa district." Xue Jie ordered the bodyguard who drove the car. "What kind of place is Hongpa district?" asked Tan Xiu. Hongpa district is located in the southwest of Dongguan City. There are a lot of industrial parks there, as well as many small projects and workshops. There are a lot of foreigners there every year. The Tang family's clothing factory is over there. In recent years, although there has been continuous transformation and development, there are still a lot of dilapidated places. The flow of people there is relatively large, so it's very suitable for hiding." Tan Xiu nodded and dialed the cell number of the Huang family's patriarch. From him, he learned that the Huang family also had an intelligence network in Hongpa district. Immediately, he asked the other party for the contact information of the intelligence personnel there. Guo Senator, he was the owner of an internet cafe on Yeyang Street in Hongpa district. He had been running the internet cafe business here for more than 10 years and had a complicated relationship with many gangsters here. His other identity was the intelligence personnel of the Huang family, and he was also the person in charge here. Guo Sen was quite excited when he received a call from the patriarch himself. He secretly decided that he must cooperate with the other party. No matter what the other party's request was, he would try his best to satisfy it. Soon, he received a call from Tan Xiu and told Tan Xiu the address of the internet cafe. Jingjing Internet Cafe. Guo Sen, along with 2 of his trusted men, squatted in the street corner near the internet cafe, waiting for the arrival of Tan Xiu and the others. Beside him was a calm-looking young man who was smoking a cigarette. After extinguishing the cigarette butt, he looked up and asked, "Big brother, who exactly are these people? To think that they are worth the boss's personal order to cooperate with them at all costs." "I don't know." Guo Sen shook his head. "But it's the boss's order, so we must complete it. The boss has promised to give us a very generous reward if we do well. Maybe we'll be transferred to a bigger stage." The young man's expression changed as he firmly said, "I'm not as good as you in terms of intelligence. But I'll be the first to act if there's a need." Guo Sen was silent for a moment before he suddenly asked, Changzi, where did the boss send you 3 years ago? How come you became so powerful after you came back? Don't ask, big brother. Xiao Chang shook his head. I really can't tell you, else I'll violate the family's taboo. Let alone you, I'm afraid I'll be killed as well. The Huang family's ancestral teachings are not only aimed at their clansmen, but also at us. You should be very clear about this matter. Forget it. Guosen forced a smile and said, since you don't want to tell me, then I won't ask anymore. Xiao Chang no longer spoke. He recalled the inhuman torture and demonic training that year in his mind. That place was a holy land for training powerhouses, but it was also the place where a group of devils lived. He was in a dilemma. He wanted to go there again to receive training, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold on and die there. At that time, if he hadn't secretly fallen in love with that breathtakingly beautiful girl at first sight, he would have probably died in the training to prevent her from despising him. However, he was aware of the disparity in status between him and that girl. He knew that they were from two different worlds. He was like a toad, while that girl was a white swan. No, she was not a white swan, but a fairy. Honk honk, the sound of a car horn awakened Xiao Chang, who was immersed in his memories. When he looked up, he found that his big brother and another brother had already rushed toward a Tiguan SUV on the roadside. Are you Guosen? After getting off the car, Tan Xiu looked at Guosen and asked. I am, said Guosen quickly. Are you Mr. Tang? That's right. It's me. Tan Xiu nodded. You should have received Huang Jinfu's call, right? Guosen's mouth twitched a few times. He didn't expect that Tan Xiu would dare to call his big boss's name. He nodded and carefully said, Big boss has ordered us to do our best to assist you. We'll try our best to satisfy any request you have. I need to find a safe place, said Tan Xiu. Since there will be a lot of people coming, the place must be big and not easy to be discovered by outsiders. A strange light flashed in Guosen's eyes as he asked, Mr. Tang, can you tell me in advance how many people there will be? I'm afraid there will be more than 100 people at most, said Tan Xiu. At least 40 to 50 people at least. Guosen thought for a while and said, I know a place that's very hidden. It's also very suitable for your requirements. But what? Asked Tan Xiu. But that place is a bit chaotic, said Guo Senior. A lot of workers, especially some hooligans and gangsters, often appear there. The boss there is a gangster leader called Black Dragon. He's very powerful. Furthermore, he also has some intelligence network. If his people find out, I'm afraid. I'll be worried if there's no gangster leader there, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Let's go. Take me to that place to have a look. If possible, we'll stay there. Changzi, drive the car, said Guosen quickly. Xiao Chang nodded and quickly ran away. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes as he looked at Xiao Chang's back and said, he's your man. His skill should be good, right? Guosen stared blankly for a moment and then said with astonishment, you're really amazing, Mr. Tang. Big boss sent Changzi to me, and his skill is indeed extraordinary. 7 or 8 hooligans can't even approach him. You're talking about his skills, but I'm talking about his ability to kill people, said Tan Xiu. He has seen blood, so he has a vicious aura in his heart. Guosen stared blankly. He didn't expect that his little brother, who had been following him for nearly 2 years, turned out to be so powerful. However, thinking that he was sent by the big boss, he felt relieved inside. Shortly after, a car stopped in front of them. Tan Xiu asked a bodyguard to sit in Xiao Chang's car, while Guosen sat in the front seat of the Tiguan SUV. Under Xiao Chang's lead, the 2 cars quickly drove to an abandoned factory. What are you doing? The old man guarding the door ran out of the sentry box and shouted. After getting off the car, Guosen came before the old man. He took out a stack of 100 yuan bills and stuffed it into his hand, saying, Grandpa, do you still remember me? I'm the owner of an internet cafe. You once went to my internet cafe and took your grandson out. Yesterday's 5 chapters have been completed. This chapter is the first chapter on August 6th _. Chapter 350. The old man guarding the abandoned factory suddenly understood and said, I know you. What's your name again? Gua. Gua Sun. The old man nodded. He weighed the money in his hand and asked, That's right. I'm Gua Senator, but what are you doing here? Why are you giving me so much money? What are you going to do with it? Gua Sun said with a smile, Grandpa, we want to rent this factory and renovate it for some time to do some business. You should be able to contact the private owner of the factory, right? Could you please call him over now? We can pay the money tonight if possible. The old man hesitated for a moment and looked at the stack of money in his hand. He finally nodded and said, All right. Wait a minute. I'll call him. A few minutes later. The old man returned to the front of them and said with a smile, I'm done with the phone call. The boss heard that you want to rent the factory, so he's coming over immediately. Are you going to wait here? Or? Grandpa, we want to go in and have a look first. Do you have any objections? Gua Sun said, Wait for us to see the situation of this factory first. Then we can talk about the rent with the boss. Let's go. I'll take you there, said the old man with a smile. The factory was not big and was about the size of a regular football field. Tan Xiu learned from the old man that this factory used to produce furniture and home textiles. Due to the poor management of the factory's owner, he ended up in debt and had to declare bankruptcy. After strolling around, the factory's owner arrived. You want to rent the factory? Asked the factory owner curiously as he looked at Tan Xiu and the others. We've just seen the situation of the factory. It's not bad, said Tan Xiu. But how about the rent? Asked the factory owner. What are you going to do with it? Clothing business, said Tan Xiu. The factory owner suddenly understood and said with a smile, Our factory rent is at least 5 million a year. The area of my factory is not small, so it's reasonable for me to charge you 8 million a year. However, the business is bad this year and I'm in a hurry to rent it out, so I'll charge 6 million a year. If you agree, we'll sign the contract. If not, then I can't do anything about it. Tan Xiu stretched out his hand and said, 5 million. If you agree, we'll take it. If you don't, we'll look elsewhere. To tell you the truth, we've seen quite a few idle factories since we came here. The factory owner was stunned. He frowned and hesitated for a while before saying, 5 million. It really couldn't be any less. If you don't rent it, someone else might come to look at the factory tomorrow. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and slowly said, 5 million is not out of the question, but I have 2 conditions. If you agree, we'll rent it. The factory owner hurriedly said, What conditions? Say it. As for the first condition, we still can't make a 100% decision on whether we will rent this factory or not, said Tan Xiu. Therefore, I can give you a deposit of 500,000 yuan first. If we don't rent your factory after 1 month, the deposit will be yours. If you do, we'll pay you another 5 million, and then we'll officially sign the contract. The factory owner thought about it and felt that there was no problem, so he said, I agree. But you have to pay me the money today. Tan Xiu nodded and said, No problem. I'll transfer the money to you online. The factory owner said, Then tell me the second condition. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, To tell you the truth, we came from the north. We've been staying in the hotel for more than a week, and the hotel's hygiene is very bad. So we decided to live in the factory for the time being. The factory owner said with a smile, Since you've given me the deposit, then this factory is temporarily rented to you. If you want to stay here, then stay here. But this place is dirty and messy, so you need to clean it up. No problem. Tan Xiu nodded. Immediately after, Tan Xiu transferred 500,000 yuan to the factory owner's account through online banking. After watching the factory owner leave with satisfaction, Tan Xiu then looked at the old man guarding the door and asked with a smile, "Grandpa, may I ask you, how much is your monthly salary working here?" 2,500 yuan, said the old man with a smile. "I'll give you 10,000 yuan, Grandpa," said Tan Xiu. "You don't need to stay here for a month. You also know that we're going to live here and do business here, so we need to find some young and strong security guards." The old man looked hesitant upon hearing it and said, "I understand you. It's not easy to do business here. But that 10,000 yuan. Please don't refuse it, Grandpa," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "Just consider it our compensation to you. If we really rent this factory in the future, I'll invite you back." "Well, all right then." The old man nodded. Tan Xiu took out his wallet and asked Shuijie for some cash. After collecting 10,000 yuan, he gave it to the old man and sent him away. Guosun followed beside Tan Xiu and said in a low voice, "Mr. Tang, isn't it too high for you to rent this place for a month with 500,000 yuan? As a matter of fact, I just need to use some means to give some benefits to the factory owner, and he'll lend it to us for a while." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "On the way here, I knew you were talking about this factory, so I thought about it clearly. This place is indeed good. There are also several large factories around, and the flow of people on the street is also a lot. It's a good place to hide." Upon hearing it, Guosun said, "Then, what should we do next? What else do you need me to do?" "Take me to see Black Dragon," said Tan Xiu. "Why do you want to see him?" Guosun was surprised. "That guy is not a good person. He's a bully and is insatiable. Once we have a relationship with him, it'll be very troublesome." "Troublesome?" Tan Xiu grinned and said, "I wouldn't want to see him if he's a good person. Let's go. Take me to see him. You should know where he is, right?" Guosun said, "Almost every night, Black Dragon would stay in his bar. I'll take you there." Black Dragon Bar. As the two cars parked on the street near the bar, Tan Xiu said, "Auntie Shui, you stay here and wait for me. I have to get rid of this hidden danger before we can set up camp here." "You want to?" Shuijie was surprised. "I won't kill him." Tan Xiu shook his head. "I just want him to work for me." "Is his background clean?" Shuijie hesitated. Tan Xiu looked at Guo Senior. "Black Dragon can mix in this area like a fish in the water because he can fight and fight. He has been fighting for more than 20 years, said Guosun quickly. "He's a gangster leader with a very clear background." Tan Xiu nodded after hearing it. He took Guosun and Xiao Chang out of the car and walked toward Black Dragon Bar. As for the other person brought by Guosun, he stayed in the car. The Black Dragon Bar was very lively at night. The deafening metal music made people's eardrums ache faintly. Inside the bar, aside from countless people crazily twisting, there were also many people drinking and flirting with girls. "Yo, isn't this Brother Gua? What kind of wind blew you here today?" A young man with dyed blonde hair and earrings came over with a smile. "Take me to see Black Dragon. I want to discuss a deal with him," said Guosun aloud. The young man was startled. He looked at Tan Xiu and Xiao Chang, then waved his arm and loudly said, "Come with me. Brother Long is having fun inside." There were more than a dozen private rooms inside the bar. In the largest private room, Black Dragon was hugging a beautiful girl he had just flirted with, singing into the microphone. From time to time, the beautiful girl would pick up a piece of fruit and stuff it into Black Dragon's mouth. On the other sofa, Black Dragon's two right-hand men and trusted subordinates were also hugging women, gulping down wine. "Brother Long, Guosun wants to see you. He said he wants to discuss a deal with you." The blonde youth pushed the door and came in, whispering in Black Dragon's ear. Black Dragon stared blankly and asked doubtfully, "Guosun? Where did he come from?" "Brother Long, did you forget that he's the owner of Jingjing Internet Cafe?" said the blonde. Black Dragon furrowed his brows and a trace of dread flashed in his eyes. He once had dealings with Guo Senator more than a year ago. One of his men came to Jingjing Internet Cafe to collect protection fees and was beaten by Guo Sen's men. Later, he and Guo Sen met in private and also had a fight. Dozens of his men were beaten miserably by Guo Sen and his men. If he hadn't taken out his gun at the end, Guo Sen probably wouldn't have lowered his head. However, Guo Sen took out a sum of money in that incident and the enmity between the two sides was resolved. But both sides had always minded their own business and minded their own business. Black Dragon patted the beautiful girl next to him and loudly said, "You guys go out and play first. I'll call you for a drink after I'm done with my business." "All right." The three girls got up and walked outside. A moment later, Tang Xiu, along with Guo Sen and Xiao Cheng, entered the box. He saw Hei Long sitting on the sofa with his legs crossed, a cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth, and a tattoo all over his body. Tang Xiu lightly smiled and said, "You're Hei Long." Black Dragon glanced at Tang Xiu before his eyes fell on Guo Sen and lightly said, "Guo Sen, is this your little brother? Don't you know the rules?" Guo Sen took a step back and stood behind Tang Xiu without saying anything. Black Dragon stared blankly for a moment. He looked at Guo Sen and then at Tang Xiu. He then nodded and said, "I see. So you're the one. What's your name, brother? Which street do you work in?" Tang Xiu waved to the other two big men on the sofa. After they got Black Dragon's signal to stand up, Tang Xiu walked to the sofa and sat down. He took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a puff, he said, "My name is Tang Xiu. You don't need to know where I'm from. I want to discuss a deal with you. Everyone will be happy if the deal goes through. If not, I'll leave immediately." Black Dragon squinted his eyes and asked, "What deal?" This is the second chapter of today's guarantee. The third and fourth chapters will be decided at 12 p.m. based on various data. Brothers and sisters, keep it up _. Chapter 351. This deal is related to your life, said Tang Xiu. In other words, if you follow me, you can live. You can also refuse and die a miserable death. Then I'll support another person to be the boss here. Pfft. Hei Long looked at Tang Xiu as though he was looking at a fool and couldn't help laughing. He had heard a lot of jokes before, but none of them were as funny as this one. "I say, little brother, are you stupid or what? I, Hei Long, can get whatever I want here. I'm the local tyrant, so why should I follow you? Who the hell do you think you are?" Tang Xiu squinted his eyes and asked, "So, you don't want to?" The smile on Hei Long's face quickly disappeared. A chilling light flashed in his eyes as he shouted in a deep voice, "Scram! Go back to where you came from. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't haggle with you." Tang Xiu pointed to the two men next to Hei Long and lightly asked, "Are they your men?" "Yes," replied Hei Long with a cold face. Tang Xiu nodded. The moment the sharp Mitsubishi army knife appeared in his hand, his figure flashed and disappeared. A glaring cold light flashed and the two big men's bodies stiffened. Their hands quickly grabbed their throats. Blood. Spurt. Their eyes were wide open, bursting with disbelief. They could feel that their lives were quickly fading away. Standing next to Guo Sen, Xiao Cheng's body slightly trembled and his pupils instantly contracted. Tang Xiu's speed made the hairs on his body stand up. Fast. It was really too fast. From the moment Tang Xiu's buttocks left the sofa, dashed to the front of Hei Long's men, and then returned to the sofa, it was definitely less than 2 seconds. This speed. It was too terrifying. Xiao Cheng thought that he was very fast, but he was horrified to find that his speed was nothing compared to Tang Xiu's. If Tang Xiu wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be able to resist at all and would probably be killed in an instant. Hei Long abruptly got up and pulled out the pistol from his waist. His complexion drastically changed as he pointed the muzzle at Tang Xiu. Looking at the miserable appearance of his two men with their throats slit, his heart fiercely twitched a few times, and he roared sternly, "Who the fuck are you?" In his heart. It also gave birth to a deep fear, because he didn't even see Tan Xiu's movements clearly. In almost an instant, two of his subordinates, who were good at fighting, had their throats slit by Tan Xiu. At this speed, if Tan Xiu had wanted to kill him just now, he would have ended up like his two subordinates. His throat would have been slit, and he would soon become a corpse. "Do you really think the gun in your hand is a threat to me?" Tan Xiu shook his head. "Put it away. You still have one more chance. Submit to me and become one of my people. You can live, and perhaps you'll have some great fortune in the future. But if you don't agree, I don't mind sending you to accompany your two brothers to hell." Recalling Tang Xiu's move just now, Hei Long suddenly came to a realization. This young man's speed was so terrifying that it was not impossible for him to dodge the bullet he shot. In an instant, he watched his two men fall to the ground. In just a few seconds, they stopped breathing and died completely. "You haven't chosen yet," Tan Xiu lightly said. "Live or die, it's your choice." Hei Long's wrist trembled and he silently put the gun back to his waist. His eyes were full of viciousness as he looked at Tan Xiu and asked in a deep voice, "You killed my brothers. Aren't you afraid that I'll submit to you, but I'll crazily retaliate against you later?" "You won't." Tan Xiu shook his head. "You may be ruthless and merciless, but you're also afraid of death. I can crush you as easily as crushing an ant if I want to. Even if I don't do it myself, my men can easily kill you. Of course, that includes all your brothers. It's enough to wash them in blood overnight." Hei Long pointed to Guosen and asked in a deep voice, "You mean them?" "They're not my men," Tan Xiu lightly said. "Although the big boss behind them can also easily crush you, they're not people here and they're too lazy to do it. It's also because of a special reason that I'm looking for you. Else, I won't even bother to look at you even if you're 100 times stronger, let alone your power." Hei Long's breath stagnated. He pondered for a while and then seriously said, "I must know your identity, else I can't follow you." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "Actually, with your identity, even if I tell you, I'm afraid a nobody at your level won't know who I am. But I can tell you something you should know so that you can work for me. Have you ever watched the news? It's the CTV one." Hei Long shook his head and said, "I don't care about national affairs, so why would I watch it?" "But I watched it when I was a kid." "It's fine if you watched it when you were a kid," Tan Xiu said. "I'm from the imperial capital, and Tang Guosheng is my grandfather." "The imperial capital? Tang Guosheng?" Hei Long stared blankly for a moment before his eyes suddenly turned as big as a bell. His body swayed and he slumped down on the sofa. How could he not know Tang Guosheng? He was a bigwig with a high position and power in the country. Tan Xiu let out a smile and said, "It seems that you know my grandfather's identity. Although I don't rely on him much, it's still useful to use him to prove my background. How about it? Do you want to follow me?" "I do." Hei Long jumped up from the sofa as if he had forgotten that Tan Xiu had just killed two of his trusted men. With an excited face, he said, "I'm very willing." He realized that he seemed to have hit the jackpot. The young master of the imperial capital. Countless people wanted to curry favor with him but couldn't. Although he didn't know why Tan Xiu, a dignified young master of a big family, came to a small place like Guan City, he didn't want to let go of even the slightest chance. "Aren't you afraid that I'll lie to you?" asked Tan Xiu with a smile. "I don't think you need to lie to me," said Hei Long seriously. "After all, you won't lie to me if you want me to do things for you. Moreover, lies are easily exposed. If I had the intention, I would be able to find out the truth with a little investigation." "It seems that you're really smart," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "No wonder you're able to mix well here. Tell your men to clean up these two corpses and then come with me." "Where to?" asked Hei Long. "You can ask what you need to ask, but you don't need to ask what you shouldn't, said Tan Xiu. Anyways, just remember to carry out my orders. If you do well, you'll have great development in the future. You don't need to be a local tyrant here anymore. If you don't do well, I'll directly give you up. Hei Long's expression turned solemn as he respectfully said, I'll keep it in mind. 2 minutes later. Hei Long found several of his trusted men and asked them to secretly box up the 2 corpses and then secretly destroy the corpses. After finishing, he respectfully came before Tan Xiu. Let's go, said Tan Xiu lightly. After they left the Hei Long bar, Tan Xiu looked at Guosen and said, I need to borrow your intelligence network for the time being. Help me monitor Hongpa district. Contact me directly if any suspicious person comes. Guosen forced a smile and said, Mr. Tang, there are too many suspicious people in Hongpa district. Shouldn't we have a target? Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he lightly said, people from the Sun family in Guangyang. The Sun family? A glint flashed in Guosen's eyes as he said, I need to report this matter to the big boss. After all, my rank is very low and I don't know much about the Sun family in Guangyang. I need a higher rank member to cooperate with me. You can report it to me, said Tan Xiu. I'll personally visit your big boss tomorrow. All right. Guosen nodded and said. Leave your car to us. Tan Xiu said. Also, help me clean up some rooms in the factory and buy some daily necessities while you're at it. Remember, don't attract others' attention. No problem, said Guosen with a smile. Tan Xiu waved to Hei Long, motioning him and another bodyguard to sit in another car and then entered the Tiguan SUV. Hei Long's mood at this time was very complicated. He was nervous and excited. He didn't know what fate would be waiting for him in the future, but he wanted to gamble. If he gambled right, he would have a bright future. But if he gambled wrong, the worst that could happen to him was death. After all, if he refused Tan Xiu today, he was afraid that he would have become a corpse. Red Maple Villa Complex. When the 2 cars stopped a kilometer away from the Red Maple Villa complex, Tan Xiu and Shui Jie discussed and decided to evacuate tonight and rush to Hongpa district under the cover of the night. Auntie Shui, wait for me here. I'll go inside and arrange it. All right. Tan Xiu climbed over the wall alone and quietly returned to the villa. Tang Wei didn't rest at this time. He was worried about Tan Xiu's safety, so he sat by the window on the 2nd floor and smoked. Tang Wei was slightly startled when he saw a figure climbing over the wall and entering the courtyard. More than a dozen of his men quickly pulled out their guns and aimed at the person. It's me, Tan Xiu said in a deep voice. When the big men saw Tan Xiu clearly, they immediately put away their guns and scattered to the side. Everyone, pack up. We're leaving tonight, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. Understood. The big men complied one after another. When Tan Xiu came to the villa, Tang Wei had already rushed down the stairs. Brother, how's the matter going? It's all done, said Tan Xiu. I've met the Bai family's people and found a place for us to stay for the time being. Pack up and we'll leave later. I'm at ease with you handling it. Tang Wei nodded. A curved arc outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he said with a smile, do you want to do one more job before you leave? How? Tang Wei was confused. Tan Xiu pointed to the villa complex's gate and said, if my guess is correct, this villa must be under surveillance. If I'm not mistaken, our villa must be under surveillance. When we left before, we climbed over the wall to avoid being discovered. But we can't do it without a car. Therefore, we need to clean up the enemies monitoring us. It's too difficult. Tang Wei shook his head. We're in the light while the people monitoring us are in the dark. It's very difficult to find them. This is today's 3rd update. It's also the one with the explosive monthly votes. Come on, brothers and sisters. Quiet Night is waiting for you to continue exploding. Chapter 352. Tan Xiu's spiritual sense was like a cheat in games. He could observe any scenery within a radius of several hundred meters under the cover of his spiritual sense. Therefore, as long as he spent some time and circled around the villa complex, he would be able to find suspicious people. However, the binoculars were too effective now. If the monitoring distance was too far, there might be some fish that slipped through the net. Even if it's difficult, we still have to search. With a serious expression, Tan Xiu said seriously, as for when we leave, I'll personally bring up the rear. If there are any suspicious people following us, we'll clean them up. Tang Wei nodded and said, it's good to be cautious. What are we going to do? Let's circle around the villa complex for a while, said Tan Xiu. Let's just go out and relax. If we find any suspicious people, we'll figure out their identities. If not, we'll come back and arrange a retreat. All right. Tang Wei touched the pistol on his waist and nodded. Immediately after, the duo then walked out of the villa's courtyard and went straight to the villa complex's entrance. Tan Xiu had been releasing his spiritual sense to observe the surrounding situation. What Tan Xiu didn't expect was that his spiritual sense had already captured the enemy's tracks from the villa's entrance. It was on the roof of another villa only a few hundred meters away from the villa. Two youths holding binoculars had been quietly observing the movements of the villa. However, Tan Xiu didn't act rashly. After coming outside the villa complex with Tang Wei, the duo pretended to go out for a stroll, smoking cigarettes and blowing out smoke rings from time to time. If I remember correctly, there's an SUV parked on the roadside on the left in front of us. It's been parked there for several hours, right? When we came back from Changbu town, I saw it parked there. The dim yellow night couldn't block Tan Xiu's keen eyes. When he came back from Changbu town, although he found the SUV, he glanced at it and didn't find anyone inside. But now, there were two men in the car. One of them was sitting in the back seat, smoking quietly with the window open. Tang Wei's eyesight wasn't as sharp as Tan Xiu's, so he didn't see anyone inside the SUV since they were 300 to 400 meters away. He shook his head and said, it's normal for a car to be parked on the roadside. I didn't notice that car when we came back. Tan Xiu said, it's normal to have a car parked on the side of the road, but what if there are people in the car? Tang Wei's expression slightly changed as he said, I'm afraid the problem won't be simple if someone stays in the car for several hours at this critical juncture. Let's go and take a look. Tan Xiu said as he walked towards the car. At this moment, in the driver's seat of the off-road vehicle, a young man was looking at the entrance of the villa complex. He had noticed Tan Xiu and Tang Wei the moment they stepped out of the villa complex's entrance. To his surprise, it was already so late, yet those two fellows actually came out for a stroll. Huh? When he noticed that the two men were coming in his direction, he immediately turned his head and spoke to the man in the back seat, brother who, according to the intelligence, one of the two fellows who came out of the villa complex is Tang Wei, a descendant of the Tang family. They're courting death. The man pulled out his pistol as a cold light flashed in his eyes. The young man was surprised, brother who, our mission is to monitor the Tang family in the Maple Villa complex. If we kill them now, won't we be punished by the young master? The man sneered, don't worry. If we can kill a direct descendant of the Tang family, not only will the young master not punish us, I'm afraid he'll even reward us. It's not like you don't know the news from Changbu town. We've lost a lot of people, and the young master is furious now. If we kill Tang Wei, the young master will be satisfied. All right. The young man also pulled out his pistol from his waist. The distance between the two sides was getting closer. Tan Xiu released his spiritual sense and could already envelop the two people in the car. He could clearly see the two men holding their pistols with murderous looks on their faces. In an instant, he determined the identity of these two men. They were either from the Yao family or the Sun family. Similarly, they were enemies. Brother Tang Wei, be careful. They should have guns in their hands, whispered Tan Xiu. Don't worry. They won't shoot easily since they're monitoring us, said Tang Wei. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. Looking at their appearance, how could they not shoot? They probably couldn't wait to shoot the two of them right now, right? Give me your gun. Tan Xiu stopped and blocked in front of Tang Wei. Tang Wei hesitated for a moment before he took out his pistol and handed it to Tan Xiu. After receiving it, Tan Xiu moved sideways and stuffed the pistol into his pocket. Then, he slowly walked toward the other side. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. When he was only 30 meters away from them, Tan Xiu suddenly stopped and moved lightning fast. In an instant, he grabbed the pistol and opened the safety as he aimed the muzzle at the two people in the SUV. Bang! Bang! A gunshot sounded as the bullet pierced the windshield and hit the head of the youth in the driver's seat and the heart of the man in the back seat. He had never practiced marksmanship, but his marksmanship was extremely accurate. In his view, shooting was the same as using concealed weapons, and he could easily control it. Tang Wei's expression changed. He had already seen the man in the driver's seat being shot. After dashing to the front of Tan Xiu, he hurriedly said, "Brother, why are you in such a hurry to shoot?" Tan Xiu patted his shoulder. Tang Wei's action warmed his heart as he said with a smile, "Let's go. Let's go back." Tang Wei pointed to the SUV and said with a confused expression, "Then, someone will come to collect their corpses." Tan Xiu smiled lightly. "Let's circle around the villa complex. If we don't find any other enemies, we'll clean up the two enemies in the villa complex and immediately retreat." The two enemies in the villa complex? Tang Wei stared blankly as he looked at Tan Xiu with an increasingly strange expression. He and Tan Xiu came out together and quietly observed all the way. But they didn't find any other enemies, right? 10 minutes later. The duo didn't find any suspicious people. After returning to the villa complex, Tan Xiu stopped in a hidden corner and said, "Wait for me here. I'll be right back." Tang Wei opened his mouth. He wanted to follow Tan Xiu, but he didn't know the situation and was afraid of dragging Tan Xiu down. In the end, he could only nod silently. After a while, Tan Xiu returned to Tang Wei's side and said with a smile, "I've dealt with those two guys who peeped at our villa with binoculars. Let's go. Tell everyone to evacuate immediately." Tang Wei nodded silently. The gap. Ever since Tan Xiu came to Guangyang with him, he realized that there was a huge gap between them through Tan Xiu's actions. Quickly, more than a dozen cars left the Red Maple Villa complex at lightning speed. After meeting up with Xue Jia and the others behind the villa complex, they headed toward the direction of Hongpa district. Tan Xiu's car, however, stopped on the side of the road after driving for more than 10 kilometers. He released his spiritual sense and quietly observed the cars behind. After staying there for a few minutes and finding no cars following them, he sped up and caught up with the motorcade in front. 20 minutes later. Some distance away from Hongpa district, cars were parked on the side of the road. Aside from the driver, the others got off the cars. After the cars turned around and left, they took buses or taxis and rushed toward the factory in Hongpa district. Now, there were electronic eyes everywhere on the highway. With the ability of the Yao and Sun families, it was easy for them to find the whereabouts of these cars from the traffic bureau. Therefore, it was necessary to abandon the cars halfway and take other means of transportation to leave. 2:00 late at night. In the rented factory, more than a dozen rooms in the workers' dormitory were lit. Guo Sen had personally bought a lot of bedding, pots, bowls, ladles, and other daily necessities a few hours ago. Therefore, the residential area had been cleaned up by Tan Xiu and the others. "Young Master Xiu, we're done." Li Xiaojie, along with more than a dozen strong men, came to Tan Xiu's smoke-filled conference room. Tan Xiu nodded and pointed to the table and chairs at the side, motioning him to sit down. Then, he slowly asked, "How did you deal with those cars?" "We threw them all near the traffic police brigade in Guangcheng," said Li Xiaojie. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he nodded and said, "Well done. Now, it's time for us to take the initiative." Have a good rest today. I'll draw up an action plan by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. All right. Shui Jie, Tang Wei, and Li Xiaojie nodded in the conference room. Aunt Shui, I'm afraid you'll have to work hard for a while, said Tan Xiu. I need to know the specific business of the Yao and Sun families in Guangyang, as well as the address of their company and the list of their members. I want to see it before 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. Shui Jie nodded and said, I know more about this. Leave it to me. Tan Xiu nodded. He then looked at Tang Wei and said, You stay here and keep watch. Immediately arrest any suspicious person who approaches this factory. If anyone resists, kill them on the spot. Understood. Tang Wei nodded heavily. Tan Xiu looked at Li Xiaojie and said, Come with me to Fukang province tomorrow. I'll personally visit the Bai family's patriarch. Understood. Li Xiaojie immediately replied. After Tan Xiu arranged everything, the three of them left the conference room. In the corridor outside the conference room, Hei Long leaned on the wall and smoked. He now thoroughly understood that what Tan Xiu said before was true. If Tan Xiu wanted to, he could easily pinch him to death, just like pinching an ant. He had secretly observed those 40 to 50 strong men. They were all experts, and he could feel the aura of a soldier from them. However, he still had some worries inside. Through the actions of Tan Xiu and these people, he found that Tan Xiu wanted to do something big, and it was very likely that he would fight with someone. Although he couldn't guess who the other party was, the enemy who could make the Tang family act like they were facing a formidable enemy was absolutely very powerful. Furthermore, he still couldn't figure out why Tan Xiu looked for him. Hei Long, Tan Xiu wants you to go in. After Shui Jie walked out of the conference room, her eyes fell on Hei Long. Chapter 353. Black Dragon was shaken inwardly. He quickly nodded and walked toward the conference room. When he entered the conference room, he saw Tan Xiu sitting on a chair and smoking. He cautiously asked, Young Master Tang, what's your order? Tan Xiu pointed to the chair at the side and said, Sit. All right. Black Dragon's body was very tense. After sitting on the chair, he asked, Young Master Tang, I've thought it through. I'll follow you from now on. If you tell me to go east, I'll never go south. If you tell me to go up to the sky, I'll never dare to fall down. If there's anything you want me to do, please don't hesitate to tell me. As long as this black dragon can do it, I'll do it even if I have to risk my life. What I want you to do is very simple. Tan Xiu said. Hongpa district is your territory. You've been operating here for so many years, so I believe your information channels are very well informed, right? That's right, said Black Dragon confidently. Although I only have more than 20 trusted subordinates, I still have a lot of little brothers under me. Even many small forces have a very complicated relationship with us. If you want me to inquire about some information, it'll be very easy. Your task is to send people to watch all the streets within a radius of 10 kilometers around the factory, as well as all the unknown strangers. Tan Xiu nodded. Report to me immediately once there's any situation. I won't hide it from you. Although I'm a descendant of the Tang family, I've met an opponent this time. The opponent's strength is very strong, and it's not much worse than our Tang family. Therefore, Guangyang and Fukang are the places where our Tang family and the opponent will compete. Hongpa district will be our base camp in the future. Black Dragon's eyes lit up as he asked, Boss, can you tell me who our enemy is? The Yao family in the imperial capital and the Sun family in Guangyang, said Tan Xiu lightly. Hiss, Black Dragon couldn't help but gasp. He had never heard of the Yao family in the imperial capital, but he was very clear about the Sun family in Guangyang. This Sun family was a huge force that could absolutely be ranked in the top 5 among the major families in Guangyang. Don't be surprised. Although our Tang family and these two families are in the game, it's only limited to Guangyang and Fukang, said Tan Xiu. The outcome of a small-scale game won't affect our family too much. As for you, since I've chosen you, I will ensure your safety. Regardless of whether I win or lose this time, I will give you great benefits when I leave Guanyang province. Hei Long's suspenseful heart relaxed a lot. He straightened his chest and said, Young Master Tang, I, Hei Long, am your man in life and your ghost in death. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Tan Xiu said with a smile, if you do well and perform well, you'll be rewarded. My Tang family has won this game, and your development in Guanyang will no longer be limited to a small place like Hongpa district. Do you understand what I mean? Black Dragon's eyes lit up and he nodded heavily. Understood. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, Go. When he returned, he immediately began to make arrangements. I need to ensure the safety of our base camp, so your men are very important. Yes. As Hei Long got up and was about to leave, his footsteps suddenly paused. He hesitated for a moment and asked, Young Master Tang, may I take the liberty to ask something? The Jingjing Internet Cafe's boss, Guo Sen, I won't hide it from you. He's from the Fukang province's Huang family. Moreover, he's also an intelligence agent sent by the Huang family, Tan Xiu said lightly. I have a special relationship with the Huang family, so I asked them to help me. If you want to prove your ability, then you must do better than Guo Senior. Hei Long instantly felt the pressure. He was very clear about Tan Xiu's meaning. Aside from his men, there was also the Huang family's intelligence agent in Hongpa district. He knew what kind of existence the Fukang province's Huang family was. It was one of the largest families in Fukang province. The details Tan Xiu revealed to him made him feel the pressure, but at the same time, he was also a bit excited. After all, the Tang family's chances of winning would increase several times with the Huang family's help. Young Master Tang, I won't let you down. Along with Hei Long's departure, Tan Xiu walked out of the conference room and spoke to Li Xiaojie, who was waiting outside. Send someone to keep an eye on him. I don't want any problems to crop up because of him. Li Xiaojie nodded and said, I'll send the best investigative experts to keep an eye on him. The night passed without any words. Early the next morning, Tan Xiu left the factory with Li Xiaojie and rushed to Fukang province. On the way, he contacted Guo Sen and asked him to help him buy more than a dozen second-hand cars. Fukang province, Zhou City. It was Tan Xiu's first time coming to this city. He found that this city was not much inferior to Shanghai. There were high-rise buildings and a continuous stream of vehicles on the wide streets. 10:00 in the morning. Tan Xiu arrived at the Huang family in Zhou City. Since the Huang family had a very strong power in Fukang province, they had occupied a large piece of land and built the Huang family's manor. When the car arrived at the Huang family's gate, it was stopped by the security guards at the gate. Who are you? This is a private residential area. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Upon seeing that Tan Xiu and Li Xiaojie came in a taxi, the security guard immediately said in a deep voice. After sending the taxi away, Tan Xiu looked at the security guard and said, Tell Huang Jinfu that Tan Xiu has come to visit. The security guard frowned and looked at Tan Xiu with an unfriendly expression. In the entire Fukang province, there were not many people who dared to call their patriarch by his name. However, he could faintly feel that Tan Xiu had a special temperament. Even Li Xiaojie, who was next to Tan Xiu, had a military temperament. He immediately said, Wait. After saying that, he picked up the walkie-talkie and contacted the Huang family's manor's security captain. 5 minutes later, Huang Jinfu hurried to the manor's gate with 4 or 5 core members of the Huang family. When he saw the 2 people outside the gate, he instantly determined which one was Tan Xiu. You are Mr. Tang, Tan Xiu. Huang Jinfu's posture was very low and his tone was full of respect. You're too polite, Patriarch Huang. I'm Tan Xiu, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Huang Jinfu's eyes lit up. He couldn't hide the excitement on his face as he respectfully said, I got Guo Sen's report yesterday and knew that you would come today. Please come in quickly. I've already prepared some good tea. Tan Xiu nodded and walked into the Huang family's manor's gate. The 4 security guards at the gate were dumbfounded as they looked at the back of Tan Xiu and Huang Jinfu. Never in their dreams did they expect that the young man who came in a taxi would make the patriarch treat him with such an attitude. Who's this young man? The patriarch is actually so respectful in front of this young man. Isn't this too strange? Yeah. Never in my dreams have I ever thought that there would be someone in this world who can make our patriarch treat him with such an attitude. Who exactly is this young man? Powerful people are always very low-key. I've learned something new today. Fortunately, we didn't disrespect him, else we would have been severely taught by the patriarch. 2 sightseeing cars were parked inside the Huang family's manor's gate. Under Huang Jinfu's enthusiastic greeting, the 2 of them boarded one of the sightseeing cars, while Li Xiaojie and several other members of the Huang family boarded the other one. Mr. Tang, you coming to our Huang family in person really brings light to our humble abode. I've already informed all the core members of the family yesterday, and they are all waiting inside, said Huang Jinfu with a smile. Patriarch Huang, we're not outsiders, so you don't have to be so polite, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Huang Jinfu's eyes lit up as he repeatedly nodded and said, that's right. We're not outsiders. I've been wanting to visit you ever since I heard that the Everlasting Feast Hall has a new owner. I didn't expect that you would come to our Huang family first. I came to your Huang family this time because I have something to ask of you, said Tan Xiu. You're wrong, Mr. Tang, said Huang Jinfu with a stern expression. You can tell me whatever you want. Let's not mention that Boss Gu is my savior. My family owes the Everlasting Feast Hall a lot of favors. I once told Boss Gu that my Huang family wouldn't exist without the Everlasting Feast Hall's help. If there's anything you need, just say the word. My Huang family will do our best to help you even if we have to exhaust all of our power. If so, then I'll thank you first. Tan Xiu nodded. I'll tell Xiao Xue about it later, so that the relationship between the Huang family and the Everlasting Feast Hall can be closer. Huang Jinfu's body trembled as an intense ecstasy rose inside. However, from Tang Xiu's words, he could also hear the hidden meaning behind it. Xiao Xue. What was the relationship between Tan Xiu and Gu Xiao Xue? Quickly, the 2 sightseeing cars arrived at the Huang family's main building. Under Huang Jinfu's enthusiastic greeting, Tan Xiu was greeted by a group of core members of the Huang family as they came to the reception room inside. After greeting the Huang family's members, Tan Xiu directly said, Patriarch Huang, shall we find a quiet place to talk? Huang Jinfu knew that Tan Xiu wanted to talk to him about some serious matters, so he immediately said, let's go to my study room. No one will disturb us there. The antique study room was exquisitely and elegantly decorated. Aside from a large number of books on the bookshelves, there were also 4 treasures of the study on the table, a writing brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. When Tan Xiu's eyes moved from the bookshelf to another shelf full of handicrafts, his eyes suddenly froze. That's an intense flame stone. Tan Xiu's heart skipped a few times. He came to the front of the shelf and reached out to take the intense flame stone carved in the shape of a lion. Huang Jinfu came over and smilingly said, this stone lion carving is pretty good, isn't it? It's made by our domestic master carver, Huang Baiqing. Gently stroking the intense flame stone, Tan Xiu slowly turned his head to look at Huang Jinfu and seriously said, the number of people sent by the Huang family to the Everlasting Feast Hall will double every 3 years. How about giving this stone lion to me? Huang Jinfu's eyes lit up and said without hesitation, Mr. Tang, you can take it if you like it. In his heart. At this time, he was overjoyed. It was because he never dreamed that a beautifully carved stone lion could actually double the number of people sent by his Huang family to the Everlasting Feast Hall every 3 years. Previously, only 3 people could be sent every 3 years, but now it was doubled to 6 people. Although almost all of them died every year, the remaining ones were all elites, the mainstay of the Huang family's armed forces. Today, I present the second chapter. Since Jingye has to go out during the day and has no access to computers and the internet, the third chapter can only be updated at night. Please forgive me, brothers and sisters. Chapter 354. Tan Xiu and Huang Jinfu were also in a contented mood. After taking a seat on the sofa in the study, Tan Xiu put the fierce flame rock aside and began to talk about serious matters. Patriarch Huang, you know that I'm the owner of the everlasting feast hall. But I also have another identity, which I believe you've already guessed. A strange light flashed in Huang Jinfu's eyes as he said, you and the Tang family in the imperial capital, that's right. I'm also a member of the Tang family, said Tan Xiu. Actually, when you asked me to help you investigate the deputy director of the Starlight Group's finance department, I already guessed it, said Huang Jinfu. Right now, the Tang family and the Yao family are fighting openly and covertly in Guangyang and Fukang, and the Starlight Group's headquarters building was burned down. According to the investigation of my Huang family's intelligence system, it was done by the Sun family. That's right. It was done by the Sun family, said Tan Xiu. Furthermore, the Tang family and the Yao family are now at a disadvantage in the fight. That's why I personally came to Guangyang and Fukang to deal with the matter here. Mr. Tang, please speak your mind, said Huang Jinfu without hesitation. When I guessed that you're a member of the Tang family, I already issued an order for the Huang family's armed forces to assemble and all the major companies are ready. As long as you say it, the Huang family and the Tang family will fight side by side. Tan Xiu got up and solemnly said, Patriarch Huang, I won't say any more words of gratitude. We'll have plenty of time in the future, and I won't let the Huang family's efforts be in vain. Huang Jinfu also got up and smilingly said, this is what we should do. After the two men sat down, Huang Jinfu continued, Mr. Tang, please tell us. What do you want us to do? I need the specific information on the Yao family, the Sun family of Guangyang, and the Yang family of Fukang, said Tan Xiu. Also, I hope the Huang family's intelligence system there can provide me with all the information I need and keep in touch with me at all times. I'll give you the order. Huang Jinfu nodded and said, also, I'll give you the contact information of the Huang family's chief in Guangyang. For the time being, I only need the Huang family's information, said Tan Xiu. What about the armed forces, Mr. Tang? Asked Huang Jinfu quickly. As far as I know, the Fukang province's Yang family has also trained a lot of martial arts experts. Even more than a dozen martial arts schools were established by the Yang family. The person in charge of the martial arts center, as well as many instructors, are all very important armed forces of the Yang family. According to the information I got, the Yangs didn't send many people to Guangyang. Tan Xiu said. I'm afraid that the person in charge of the Yao clan intends to eliminate all the forces of our Tang clan in Guangyang province, and then officially use the manpower of the Yang clan to eliminate the forces of our Tang clan in Fukang province. Therefore, the Sun family in Guangyang is the one that needs to be dealt with in advance. I see. Huang Jinfu nodded. In short, whenever you want our Huang family to make a move, just let us know. Tan Xiu nodded and said, there is another matter that I'm afraid I'll have to trouble Patriarch Huang with. Please speak. Patriarch Huang said. As far as I know, family head Huang and the number one figure in Guangyang should be old classmates, right? Tan Xiu said. I heard that you two have a good relationship. That's right. Huang Jinfu said. My Tang family's close partner, the Bai family's patriarch of Guangyang province, has been suspended from his post for investigation and has been sent to the detention center by the Yao and Sun families, Tan Xiu said. I hope Patriarch Huang can contact your old classmate and help me rescue him. Furthermore, the news of him being investigated has yet to spread, so I hope he can be restored to his post. Huang Jinfu frowned and forced a smile. This matter is very difficult to handle, unless what? Tan Xiu asked. Unless I promise him that he will send a quota to the everlasting feast hall every year, Huang Jinfu said. All these years, he has been asking me which force trained those experts of the Huang family. I don't dare to reveal the everlasting feast hall, so I've never answered him. Promise him. Tan Xiu touched his chin and said. With a solemn expression, Huang Jinfu nodded and said, if I promise him, I dare guarantee that he and his family will use all their forces to protect the Bai family's patriarch. Although their family has a strong force in Guangyang province, they lack real experts. Otherwise, their family will probably surpass our Huang family. Then I'll wait for your good news, Patriarch Huang, Tan Xiu stood up and said. Huang Jinfu nodded. Upon seeing Tan Xiu's action, he quickly said, Mr. Tang, I've already asked someone to prepare lunch. You see. I appreciate your kindness. Tan Xiu shook his head. I must return to Guangyang as soon as possible. Seeing that Tan Xiu had already made up his mind, Huang Jinfu no longer urged him to stay. However, there was a mystery in his heart that had yet to be solved. Seeing that Tan Xiu was about to leave, he steeled his heart and accompanied Tan Xiu to go outside. He then asked in a low voice, Mr. Tang, may I ask you something? What is your relationship with Boss Gu, Patriarch Huang? Perhaps you will know it one day in the future, said Tan Xiu calmly. Huang Jinfu could only force a wry smile inwardly. Although Tan Xiu's words were tactful, it was clear that he didn't want to tell him. Given Tan Xiu's identity, he didn't dare to continue asking. Others might not know how terrifying the everlasting feast hall was, but he was perfectly aware of it. The Huang family was already one of the top big families in Fukang province with a deep heritage. But compared to the everlasting feast hall, the gap was probably more than 10 times. If the everlasting feast hall wanted to exterminate his Huang family, even if they only dispatched a small number of people, it was very likely that all the members of the Huang family would be exterminated overnight. Huang Jinfu didn't get the answer, but he was still very satisfied inwardly. Tan Xiu's promise made him happy. He could now imagine that the Huang family would have many more experts than the present 10 years later. A family. What was the most important thing? Of course, it was military force. Although power and wealth were also very important, it was nothing compared to military force. In today's era, the real rich and powerful families had absolute armed forces and were worthy of their name. At noon, Tan Xiu returned to Dongguan City's Hongpa district. After entering the factory, Tang Wei quickly greeted him and said, Brother, there's an outsider here. He said that he received an order from the Huang family's patriarch to come here to find you. I know. He's called Huang Bingcheng. Tan Xiu nodded. A strange light flashed in Tang Wei's eyes as he asked, Brother, how did you do it? Why did the Huang family from Fukang province come here? What's your relationship with the Huang family? I have some relationship with the Huang family's patriarch. Tan Xiu said with a smile, you know that I personally visited the Huang family's patriarch today. I've borrowed the Huang family's intelligence network in Guangyang for the time being. Raising his thumbs up, Tang Wei praised, Brother, I admire you more and more now. Although I know you're powerful, I was a bit surprised when first Grandpa gave you full authority over the matters in Guangyang and Fukang province. But now I understand. You're more useful than first uncle here. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, Don't talk nonsense. Where's Huang Bingcheng? Take me to see him. All right. Tang Wei grinned. Shortly after, Tan Xiu saw Huang Bingcheng in the conference room. He was a middle-aged man who looked gentle and had a scholarly aura. You're Huang Bingcheng, right? The chief supervisor of the Huang family's intelligence network in Guangyang? I'm Tan Xiu. We've contacted each other by phone before. A respectful look appeared on Huang Bingcheng's face as he said, Mr. Tang, I'm Huang Bingcheng. The patriarch has ordered that our Huang family's intelligence network in Guangyang has been fully activated. We're also paying close attention to the movements of the Yao and Sun families. Although I dare not say that we'll be able to discover any of their movements in time, but as long as they do something big, it's absolutely impossible to hide from the eyes of our intelligence personnel. Tan Xiu slightly nodded and said with a smile, What are you going to do next? Are you going to stay here? Or somewhere else? Shall we contact each other by phone? I'll stay at the original place, Huang Bingqing said. But I'll inform you as soon as I receive the information. I'll trouble you then. Tan Xiu nodded. It's no trouble at all. It's what we should do, Huang Bingqing quickly said with a smile. After Tan Xiu sent Huang Bingqing away, Xue Jie gave the information she had sorted out to Tan Xiu. This information was what she knew, as well as the business information of the Yao and Sun families that she had sent people to investigate. In fact, it also included the specific list of the Sun family's members, the people in charge of the business, the officials, and so on. After reading it, Tan Xiu's expression turned a bit solemn. He found that the power of the Sun family in Guangyang was indeed very strong. Not to mention how much force their family possessed, just the strength of the 3 listed companies in Guangyang province was shocking. Brother, I've read this information. The business matters are very easy to solve. If we're ruthless, we can make the business of the Yao and Sun families temporarily unable to continue. But the force of the Sun family can't be underestimated. Coupled with the Yao family's force, we're not their match at all. Tang Wei's expression was a bit solemn as he spoke in a low voice while stroking his chin. You're right. Tan Xiu nodded. This is just the force on the surface that Auntie Xue has investigated. Who knows how many armed forces they have hidden in the dark. It seems that I still need to find some helpers. Tang Wei's expression moved as he quickly asked, where are you going to find helpers? Tan Xiu faintly smiled. He took out his mobile and dialed a number. After the call was connected, he said in a deep voice, I need 10 experts to immediately rush to Guan City's Hongpa district. I'll send a short message to the specific address and send it to your mailbox. Yes, boss. The other party replied very neatly. Today, the 3rd chapter is here, and there are 2 more chapters in the evening. Brothers and sisters, please give me your recommendation and monthly votes. Chapter 355. Tan Xiu hung up the phone and looked at Tang Wei and Xue Jie's curious expressions. He then lightly smiled and said, don't worry. Although I only called 10 people over, they can match up to 50 or even 100 people. Our next operation must be successful. Are they from the Huang family? Xue Jie probed. No, they're my people. Tan Xiu shook his head. I don't quite understand what you mean, Tan Xiu. Xue Jie was confused. You said your people. Have you also trained some people? Yeah, I have indeed trained some people. Tan Xiu lightly smiled. I've already started my business before I return to my family. It would be very difficult to continue my business if I don't have my own people. You've actually started a business before? Xue Jie was surprised. Auntie Xue, this matter is known only to some people in the family. In fact, my brother had already set up a company and started his business before he was found by his family and was still in high school. Don't underestimate him. Even the famous Kang Xia, the best gold manager in the world, is helping my brother. Kang Xia. Xue Jie exclaimed, Tan Xiu, so you're the magnificent Tang Corporation's boss? That's right. Tan Xiu laughed. The magnificent Tang Corporation is indeed my company. But it's just started and I've invested a lot of money, so I haven't gotten any returns yet. At this moment, the way Xue Jie looked at Tan Xiu was completely different from before. She admired Tan Xiu's resourcefulness and martial prowess. But when it came to business, she thought that she was much better than Tan Xiu. However, she never thought that Tan Xiu turned out to be the magnificent Tang Corporation's big boss and could even invite Kang Xia to work for him. Who was Kang Xia? She was the gold manager that all businessmen in China yearn for even in their dreams. Her fame in the business circle was even more resounding than those big bosses of listed companies. Amazing. Even though Xue Jie had thousands of words to say in her heart, in the end, she could only say one word. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, you guys go rest first. I need to think about it and then formulate a battle plan. If there's any news from the Huang family tonight, we'll take action tonight. Shuijia asked in surprise, are you going to take the initiative to attack? Offense is the best defense in the world. Tan Xiu nodded. Even though we won a small victory yesterday, the Yao and Sun families would never believe that we would take the initiative to attack in such a situation. This is the best time for us to attack. Shuijia and Tang Wei exchanged glances and nodded. They felt that what Tan Xiu said made a lot of sense. In a war, one had to catch the enemy off guard and attack them when they least expect it. 2 hours later, Tan Xiu walked out of the room. Based on his understanding of the forces of the Yao family and the Sun family, he formulated a battle plan. Although the plan couldn't be said to be perfect, Tan Xiu was confident that the Yao and Sun families would suffer a huge blow as long as the operation started. Tan Xiu, we have 10 people here. Shuijia, who had been waiting outside the room, quickly reported when she saw Tan Xiu come out. Tan Xiu nodded and handed the battle plan to her, saying, take a look at it first. If you think there's no problem, we'll act according to this plan. I'll go see them first. Immediately, Tan Xiu came outside the building and looked at the 10 people lined up in front of the building. Their bodies were as straight as javelins, and he secretly nodded inside. Who's Gu Lang? I'm Gu Lang. Greetings, boss. A lean man stepped forward and respectfully replied. Tan Xiu nodded and said, I'm very satisfied that you came fast. Go rest first and wait for my order tonight. Understood. Gu Lang replied in a deep voice. In the evening, Huang Bingqing sent someone to deliver an intelligence report, which was more detailed than the one collected by Shuijie. After Tan Xiu and the others observed it, they simply revised the previously formulated battle plan. Brother, we're all assembled. We're waiting for your order. Tang Wei strode in from the outside and reported in a deep voice. Tan Xiu nodded. After coming outside the building, he looked at the 5 rows of 10 people and nodded with satisfaction, saying, you've all seen the battle plan I formulated. Tonight, we'll be divided into 3 groups. Li Xiaojie will lead a group of 20 people to attack the first and second targets. Gu Lang will lead a group of 20 people to attack the third and fourth targets. I'll personally lead a group of 10 people to attack the fifth and sixth targets. Tonight, our mission is to uproot the 6 strongholds of the Yao family and the Sun family as fast as lightning and destroy their businesses. The vehicles have all been prepared, and the weapons have all been prepared. We'll use sneak attacks to reduce casualties. Before the enemy notices, try not to use your gun if you can. The time to attack is 10 p.m. After you're in position, investigate the specific situation of the targets and report to me at any time if there's any abnormality. Shortly after, Tan Xiu waved his arm. Li Xiaojie and Gu Lang took the 2 teams and quickly drove away from the factory. Tang Wei stood beside Tan Xiu and seriously said, Brother, I must participate in the battle. I'll follow you. You're a man of the Tang family, and so am I. You can go to the battlefield and kill the enemy, so can I. If we all go, who will take charge here? Tan Xiu asked. Tan Xiu, let Tang Wei go with you. Shuijie said. Don't worry, I'll take care of this place. Shuijie said. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he nodded and said, if that's the case, then come with us. But you must stay by my side and immediately evacuate if you encounter any danger. No problem. Tang Wei revealed a satisfied smile. Harbor City, Dynasty Nightclub. The younger brother of the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Feilong, was drinking with several friends. They were surrounded by a group of girls who served them well. Harbor City is a good place. It's much better than our Northwest. Big bro Sun, we've known each other for more than 10 years, right? We've said that we'd come here many times, but there's always something to deal with and we can't leave. You didn't disappoint us this time. A middle-aged man with a shaved head and a gold chain around his neck hugged a girl and laughed loudly. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Sun Feilong's mouth as he said, "It's indeed been more than 10 years. But you're such busy people, how can you spare time to take care of me? If it weren't for our Sun family getting involved in the dispute between the Yao and Tang families, I'm afraid you wouldn't have come here until now." Ha ha ha, hee hee, the few burly men invited by Sun Feilong smiled as they raised their wine glasses. Bam! The door was kicked open as 6 big men with pistols rushed into the room and opened fire. The middle-aged man in the front had very accurate marksmanship and fired extremely fast. 2 of the 4 men in the room were killed by him. Sun Feilong's group of 4 didn't even have the chance to resist and were all killed. The 6 big men didn't kill those women. After quickly killing Sun Feilong and the others, they immediately withdrew from the room. Outside the door, 4 bodies were lying in the corridor, and dozens of people were killed everywhere in the Dynasty nightclub. Most of them were killed with knives. Retreat. Hurry to the second target. Li Xiaojie glanced at the big man who had just killed the most people and said in a deep voice. Harbor City, Red Star Bath Center. The business of the bath center was very good today as many customers came to look for women. A steward of the Sun family was sitting in his office and looking at the accounts. A beautiful girl sat next to him, stirring the coffee in her hand and looking at the steward with a smile. 10 o'clock. Many customers rushed to the gangsters in the nearby bath center. They were especially ruthless and almost killed people with their knives. In just a minute or two, dozens of gangsters were killed. Bam! The office door was kicked open. As a figure flashed in, the dagger in Gu Lang's hand had accurately pierced the throat of the steward of the Sun family. In the girl's scream, Gu Lang directly knocked her out and turned to leave. Harbor City, Golden Station. The private club that occupied a large area was the territory controlled by the Sun family. Usually, an outstanding young man of the Sun family, Sun Xiaoyu, was in charge here. And here. There were also many armed forces of the Sun family. Most of them were experts trained by the Sun family and had real kung fu. The backyard of the club was where these experts usually lived and trained, and it was not open to the public. Tonight. It was very quiet here. Because the Sun family had recently followed the Yao family and the Tang family, this group of martial arts practitioners of the Sun family had rested early, conserving their energy and waiting for the master's order. Sun Xiaoyu didn't rest. At the moment, he was lying on a woman's body and exercising. Puff! A sharp Mitsubishi army knife was inserted from the back of Sun Xiaoyu's heart. At the moment when the Mitsubishi army knife was pulled out, Sun Xiaoyu's complexion changed. After he suddenly raised his head, he was shocked to find a person standing beside the bed, a very young man. "Who are you?" He quickly turned over and cried out involuntarily. A smile outlined on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth. Through his spiritual sense, he observed the dozens of Sun family's experts in the vicinity being killed one by one in their sleep. He then let out an indifferent smile and said, "Sun Xiaoyu, you're the first batch of Sun family members to die. Don't worry, there will be more Sun family members to follow you. I promise that soon, the Sun family will disappear from Guangyang province and will never appear again." Before his voice faded away, the Mitsubishi army knife in Tan Xiu's hand shot out like lightning. After piercing Sun Xiaoyu's eyebrows, he kicked the abdomen of the naked woman who was trying to take out a gun from under the pillow. After she was hit, Tan Xiu dodged and pulled out the Mitsubishi army knife from between Sun Xiaoyu's eyebrows and pierced her heart. Enemy. Regardless of gender. Tan Xiu was very clear that sometimes, women were more terrible than men. Suddenly, his complexion changed slightly. Because in the observation of his divine sense, after the 2 assassins killed one person in a room, they were detected by the other person. They dodged the sneak attack and then took out a gun and began to fight back. Today, the 4th chapter is updated. The 5th chapter will be presented later. A new week, weekly asking for a recommendation vote. Chapter 356. Tan Xiu's speed was extremely fast. After the gunshots woke up the rest of the Sun family's martial artists, he shuttled back and forth in the corridor like a ghost. The doors opened one after another, and the strong men with weapons rushed out from the inside, only to be killed in an instant. As the saying goes, kill a man in 10 steps. Not only did Tan Xiu do it, but he did it even better. It was a corridor that was tens of meters long. When he sprinted from one end to the other, a total of 12 enemies had died in his hands. The fierce battle ended in a short time. After all the enemies in the clubhouse's backyard were killed, Tan Xiu and his team poured the prepared gasoline on the easily ignited places, causing the entire clubhouse to burn. "Brother, it's done." Tang Wei came to the burning building with 2 bodyguards and said with a smile on his face. "Well done." Tan Xiu nodded. "The most important thing for us to do is not to expose our identities, so we must destroy the monitoring equipment at every target location. Let's go. We need to hurry to the 6th target location." "Aren't we going to burn the clubhouse in front?" asked Tang Wei, confused. "There are a lot of guests in the clubhouse." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "If we burn the clubhouse now, I'm afraid many outsiders will be implicated. After this battle, even if we don't burn this clubhouse, there won't be many people coming here to spend money in the future." Upon hearing it, Tang Wei nodded and smilingly said, "What you said makes sense. Fire is the most taboo for everyone. If I were to spend money here and a fire and murder happened, I'm afraid I'd rarely come here in the future." Shortly after, the group of 12 people quietly climbed over the wall and left. A faint smell of blood drifted in the air of Harbor City. The stars in the sky were unknowingly covered by the drifting dark clouds, and the whole world seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. 6 locations. More than 200 experts nurtured by the Yao family and the Sun family were brutally killed on this night. 4 locations were the important warehouses of the Yao and Sun families' companies, which were completely burned down by the fire. Harbor City, River Bay Manor. At the window on the 2nd floor of the villa, Yao Xinhua's expression was ferocious as he fiercely smashed the crystal cup in his hand. A man and a woman stood in front of Yao Xinhua, not daring to breathe loudly. On the other side of the sofa, Topherson and Ai Murue were smoking cigars and playing with the guns in their hands. Bang! The door was slammed open as a pale youth rushed into the room and hurriedly shouted, "Young master, the Mingding Group's HQ is on fire and 4 security guards in the monitoring room have been killed. All the samples stored by the company were burned. Most importantly, this is a new product that we have just developed. All the information and samples are inside. This time, our losses are huge." Yao Xinhua's pupils contracted and his body suddenly trembled a few times. He knew what the new product developed by Mingding Group was. It was a new drug to treat gout. This afternoon, the person in charge of developing the new product came to the headquarters with samples and research materials to introduce the details of the product to him. Damn it! Why did I leave those things at the headquarters? Yao Xinhua's heart was filled with regret and anger, and his ferocious expression was somewhat distorted. Ring, 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 on the table, his phone rang. Yao Xinhua grabbed the phone and shouted without looking at the caller ID, "What's up?" "Young Master Yao, something big happened. Unidentified people attacked our Sun family's nightclub and bath center, causing heavy casualties. A large number of armed personnel of my Sun family were inside the Golden Post private club, but all of them were killed and the place was burned down. The Sun family's Sun Group's HQ was also burned and many security guards were killed. My younger brother, Sun Feilong, was also killed." The voice of the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Feilei, came out of the phone. Yao Xinhua opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. After holding back for a long while, he bitterly said, "Come to the River Bay Manor immediately. I'll be waiting for you." "All right." Sun Feilei replied and directly hung up the phone. Yao Xinhua was silent for a long while as the ferocious expression on his face slowly faded. Suddenly, a smile appeared on his face. After sitting back on the sofa, he muttered to himself, "Interesting. It's really interesting. This kind of action is not Tang Yunpeng's style. He can't do such a crazy thing. Who is it? Tang Wei. That brat is quite ruthless, but how could the Tang family investigate us so clearly? Topherson, who was nestled on the sofa, suddenly raised his head and asked, Captain Yao, do you know this Tang Wei? Did he receive any harsh military training? Where did he receive any military training? Yao Xinhua shook his head. He's a big silk pants in the imperial capital, so he also managed some of the Tang family's businesses. But he's not a business person. At most, he practiced taekwondo, so his skills are a bit better than ordinary people. Then it's not him. Topherson shook his head. Changbu Town's earth cabinet factory was attacked by an expert. That guy is very powerful. I'm afraid I don't have such a powerful skill. I've checked the wounds of the members who were killed, and many of them were killed with a single slash. Yao Xinhua's expression moved. He was well aware of Topherson's skill. Even Topherson was ashamed of his inferiority, which made him vigilant. Time fleeted by. Half an hour later, Sun Feilei arrived at the Riverbay Manor with more than a dozen bodyguards. Patriarch Sun, have a seat. Yao Xinhua pointed to the opposite sofa and calmly said. Young Master Yao, my Sun family suffered a heavy loss tonight. Sun Feilei said bitterly. The Tang family seems to have gone crazy. They simply attacked our Sun family's territory without any scruples. What's most difficult for me to accept is that they know our Sun family's territory like the back of their hand. They quickly launched sneak attacks and then quickly retreated after succeeding. I didn't even have the time to rescue them. My Yao family was also attacked in 2 places and we lost a lot of people, said Yao Xinhua calmly. My Yao family's Ming Ding Group's HQ is no better than the Tang family's Starlight Group. You should have received the news when you came here, right? I received it. Sun Feilei nodded. Who did this to the Tang family? Yao Xinhua shook his head and said, I don't know. Tang Yunpeng has returned to Shusu province. The Red Maple Villa complex where they were originally stationed is now empty. The men I sent to spy on them have also been killed. I don't even know where their lair is now. Sun Feilei furrowed his brows and anxiously asked, then what should we do now? We've suffered such a big loss, don't tell me we're just going to sit and wait for death. Yao Xinhua's face turned cold as he said in a deep voice, do you think sitting and waiting for death is my character? But we've lost their traces, so the first task is to find them. Then we must gather all our forces and destroy them. Sun Feilei solemnly said, I've issued a death order to find the murderers at all costs. My Sun family's intelligence network is now operating at high speed. As long as they're still in Guangyang, our Sun family will be able to find them. Yao Xinhua nodded and said, the Tang family's people came prepared tonight, causing us to suffer huge losses. Let's count the losses first. Then we'll gather our forces. As long as we can find their traces, I'll personally lead the attack. We can't let this matter rest until we've eliminated all the Tang family's forces in Guangyang. We must uproot the Tang family's forces in Guangyang, said Sun Feilei. Otherwise, I won't be able to eat and sleep well. Young Master Yao, just wait for my good news. Yao Xinhua nodded and said, I understand your anger. I'm also very angry. But we can't let our anger get to our heads. Tan Xiu has produced a powerful figure. Although I still don't know who he is, I really want to play with him. In fact, sometimes, having a weak opponent is also a very boring thing. Sun Feilei forced a smile and said, but the price is too big just for fun. Yao Xinhua confidently said, tonight was an accident. The other party has gained such a big advantage tonight, so I'm afraid they'll hole up and won't make any big moves for the time being. That's right, hurry up and find a way to convict Bai Yang. As long as he's convicted, it'll be easier for us to clean up the Bai family. Getting rid of the Bai family can be considered as chopping off one of their arms. Young Master Yao, if tonight's incident didn't happen, convicting Bai Yang would be very easy. As long as my Sun family continues to put pressure on him, it can be done in the next few days. But tonight's incident is too big. I believe it will cause a sensation in the entire Guangyang province. I'm afraid that even those major forces in the country will know about it. At this time, let alone my Sun family, even those at the top won't pay attention to Bai Yang's matter. Yao Xinhua frowned and slowly said, since there's no way to convict him for the time being, then bribe the people in the detention center to make Bai Yang suffer a bit. If it doesn't work, then directly kill him. Just say that he committed suicide to escape punishment. I believe I don't need to teach you how to fake the scene, right? Sun Feilei's eyes lit up as he nodded and said, rest assured, young Master Yao. I guarantee that Bai Yang won't live until tomorrow night. Early in the morning. Guan City, Hongpa District. Not long after Tan Xiu and his men returned to the factory, Li Xiaojie and Gu Lang also came back with their men. The five of them, including Tang Wei and Xue Jia, gathered in the conference room in the building. Tell me. How's the mission? Tan Xiu beamed as he lit a cigarette and said after taking a deep puff. Li Xiaojie grinned and said, it's been a long time since I've killed to my heart's content. We've eliminated a total of 62 enemies tonight, while only 2 of our men were killed and 4 were injured. The injured brothers are not in danger. We've eliminated 74 enemies, while only 3 of our men were injured and no one died, said Gu Lang indifferently. Li Xiaojie stared blankly for a moment before a bitter smile appeared on his face. He thought that the people he brought were the best, but compared to this lone wolf of mysterious origin, they were still a little worse. Today's 5 chapters have been released, and tomorrow we'll continue to release 5 chapters. Every spit is a nail. Since Quiet Night said that she'll release 10 chapters in 2 days, she'll definitely deliver the 10 chapters as scheduled. Brothers and sisters, I ask you to send your recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 357. Tan Xiu nodded and said, you did a good job. You killed so many enemies with a very small price. This is a great merit. My side also went smoothly. We killed nearly 100 people from the other side without any casualties. I'm afraid 1/3 of the Yao and Sun family's forces in Guangyang have been dealt with by us in tonight's operation. Tang Wei said with a smile, I'm afraid First Grandpa and the others will be overjoyed if we send the results of tonight's battle back to the imperial capital. Extraordinary splendor rippled in Xue Jie's eyes as a sense of worship rose inside her heart. That's right, the number of people who could make her worship these days could be counted on one's fingers. But after tonight's operation, she really had this feeling about Tan Xiu. Amazing. Valiant. These words seemed especially pale when used on Tan Xiu. Xue Jie took a deep breath and said with a smile, you did a great job. The effect is more than 10 times better than I expected. I originally thought that we would completely withdraw from Guangyang. But I didn't expect that under Tan Xiu's leadership, just 2 operations were enough to make the Yao and Sun family suffer. Tan Xiu, what are we going to do next? Hibernate and hunt, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Xue Jie was confused and said, I know about staying dormant, but tonight's operation was indeed a bit too big. If tonight's situation happens again, I'm afraid those top bigwigs in Guangyang won't be able to sit still and suppress us. But what do you mean by hunting? Assassinate. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Xue Jie's complexion slightly changed as she asked, who's the target? The Yao and Sun families? I need your cooperation to draw up a list of assassination targets. Tan Xiu nodded and said. The Yao family's men who came to Guangyang, as well as the Sun family's members' information. If we want to end the battle in Guangyang as soon as possible, we must kill them and make them tremble in fear. Tang Wei heavily nodded and said, that's right. Since they took the initiative to attack us, then we'll make them suffer. Now I hope the Yao family can send a large number of men, so that we can kill with more vigor. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, what I hope is that we can end the game between the 2 families as soon as possible. I'm sure you're aware of the Tang family's current situation. If we really shed all pretense of cordiality with the Yao family, even if we can exterminate the Yao family, the Tang family will also suffer heavy losses. Once that happens, I'm afraid the other families in the country won't let go of this good opportunity to reap the benefits, right? Tang Wei was startled, and then he nodded silently. Grandfather said that our Tang family needs time the most right now. As long as we are given another 3 to 5 years, not to mention the Yao family, even if it is the top family in the country, our Tang family will dare to compete with them. Tan Xiu said, "That's right, it's time. In fact, the game between us and the Yao family is a situation where we harm others without benefiting ourselves. Therefore, in the following process of hunting, not only do we have to kill as many enemies as possible, but we also have to obtain benefits. Moreover, I've decided to take Gulang and the others to Fukang province. Brother Tang Wei, you stay here and wait for my dispatch at any time." Tang Wei hesitated. "Tang Wei, since Tan Xiu has said so, just listen to him," Shui Jie said. "I believe you already know what he's capable of now. He'll be fine." Tang Wei nodded helplessly, "All right. Then I'll stay here." Shui Jie looked at Tan Xiu and asked with a smile, "What about me? Will I continue to stay here? Or?" "Aunt Shui, although the Starlight Group's HQ has been destroyed, there are still a lot of things to deal with in the company. I don't think it's appropriate for you to stay here and command remotely," Tan Xiu said. "Therefore, I suggest you come with me to Fukang province and deal with the group's affairs in the branch there. You can rest assured that aside from your bodyguards, I'll also send 4 experts to protect you. Even if you encounter a large-scale sneak attack, I'm sure they can protect you." "All right," Shui Jie said with a smile. Immediately, with Shui Jie's help, Tan Xiu combined the information from the Huang family and formulated an assassination list. On this assassination list, aside from the Yao and Sun families, there were also people from the Yang family in Fukang province. Furthermore, after the assassination in Guangyang province ended, Tan Xiu decided to immediately carry out a purge in Fukang province. Imperial capital, Tang family's ancestral residence. The 2 brothers, Tang Guosheng and Tang Guoshou, were discussing some matters. Tang Min, on the other hand, was pouring tea at the side, adding a few words from time to time. Ring, 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 Tang Guosheng raised his brows and instantly thought of the problem in Guangyang province. Almost without hesitation, he grabbed his mobile and saw that it was a call from Tan Xiu. He immediately pressed the answer button. "Xiu, it's so late and you still haven't rested?" "There's something I need to tell you," said Tan Xiu. "What is it?" asked Tang Guosheng. "Is there any unforeseen event in Guangyang?" Tang Guosheng asked. "More than 2 hours ago, I led some people to attack the Yao and Sun family's industries in Guangyang, as well as their armed forces," said Tan Xiu. "Almost 1/3 of their forces in Guangyang were destroyed." "What?" Tang Guosheng abruptly stood up with disbelief in his eyes. Shocking. It was really too shocking. He simply couldn't believe his own ears. It must be noted that although the Yao family didn't have much power in Guangyang, the Sun family was the local snake in Guangyang. Destroying 1/3 of their forces at the same time. How big of a move was this? Tang Guosheng's lips squirmed a few times as he asked with a trembling voice, "How did you do it, Xiu?" "With the intelligent support of our Tang and Huang families," said Tan Xiu. "Then I called some of my men. We separately attacked 6 places of the enemy. Wasn't the HQ of our Tang family's Starlight Group burned down? I also burned down the buildings of the Yao family and the Sun family. You can rest assured that it was done very cleanly. Even if they know that we did it, they won't be able to find any evidence." Tang Guosheng burst into laughter and said, "Good, good, good. Well done. You're the person in charge of our Tang family in Guangyang, so I only got the news now. But I think that old geezer of the Yao family has already gotten the news, right? Ha ha ha. I'm so happy, really happy. Grandpa, Shuijie will make a report about the specific situation and send it to you by email, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Anyways, I won't talk to you anymore. Wait a minute. Tang Guosheng quickly called out. Is there anything else? Asked Tan Xiu. Xiu, you may have achieved remarkable results tonight, but you must not underestimate the enemy, said Tang Guosheng. You and Xiao Wei must immediately retreat if there are any unforeseen events. It's fine even if you lose Guangyang and Fukang. I understand, said Tan Xiu. Tang Guosheng pondered for a moment and asked again, what's your next plan? I've drawn up a list of assassination targets, said Tan Xiu. A small part of them are targeting the Yao and Sun families in Guangyang. Most of them are in Fukang. I'll rush to Fukang in 2 days at the latest to contend with the Yao, Sun, and Yang families there. Will the Huang family in Fukang help us? Asked Tang Guosheng. I don't want the Huang family to get involved unless it's a last resort, said Tan Xiu. But if I can't handle it, the Huang family will help us even if they have to exhaust all of their family's power. Is that true? Tang Guosheng was shocked. Exhaust all of their family's power? How is that possible? Tang Guosheng was shocked. Grandpa, there are some things I won't tell you for the time being. I'm sure you'll know when the time is right. Tan Xiu said. All right, I understand. Tang Guosheng said. He hung up the phone. Tang Min, who was at the side, quickly asked, Dad, what happened in Guangyang? Look, you're so happy that your mouth is crooked. With a face full of joy, Tang Guosheng said with a smile, wait. You'll know soon. Xiu is indeed worthy to be my Tang family's seed. Amazing, amazing. Tang Guosheng and Tang Min looked at each other and then forced a wry smile. Big brother, don't keep us guessing. Tell us first, what exactly happened? Xiu brought his men to eliminate 1/3 of the forces of the Yao and Sun families in Guangyang tonight, said Tang Guosheng with a grin. What? Heavens! Tang Guosheng and Tang Min abruptly stood up with disbelief on their faces as they stared at Tang Guosheng without blinking. I didn't lie to you. Tang Guosheng said with a smile. It was Xiu himself who called me. I believe he won't lie to me. Tang Guosheng excitedly said, Big brother, if what Xiu said is true, then our Tang family has already reversed the situation in Guangyang, hasn't it? You must know that the Yao and Sun families have been plotting for many years, and their forces there are more than twice stronger than our Tang family. Now that they have suffered such a big loss, I'm afraid that old geezer of the Yao family will die of heartache. That's right. Tang Guosheng nodded and said with a smile. Even if our Tang family completely loses Guangyang, it's worth it with such a big loss from the Yao and Sun families. Imperial capital, Yao family's courtyard. Dog barks were occasionally heard in the tranquil courtyard. But inside the main room, the sound of things being smashed was particularly loud. Yao Qingzuan's old face was filled with anger. In front of him, 3 men and 2 women also wore angry expressions and remained silent. Dad, the statistics of our losses have come out. Yao Qingqing strode into the room with a thick stack of documents in his hand. Yao Qingzuan grabbed the thick stack of documents. As he flipped through them, his complexion turned uglier. When he finished reading the last page, he fiercely slammed the stack of documents on the table and angrily shouted, Did Xinhua not notice the Tang family's actions? Also, that damned Sun family. They're the local snake in Guangyang, and their intelligence network is very strong. Don't tell me they didn't notice any clues. Yao Qingqing forced a smile and said, The Tang family's forces in Guangyang have all disappeared. Xinhua thought that they were all hiding and wouldn't make a move against us at this time. Who would have thought? Chapter 358. What does he think? Yao Qingzuan angrily shouted. He's underestimating the enemy and being too conceited. We vigorously suppressed the Tang and Bai families and destroyed their forces, but it's nothing compared to our losses tonight. Hasn't Tang Yunpeng already left Guangyang? Who's the one leading tonight's operation? We haven't found out yet. Yao Qingqing shook his head. Bam! Yao Qingzuan smashed everything on the table and angrily roared, haven't found out yet? Guangyang has been beaten to such a state, yet they haven't even found out the exact identity of the enemy? Yao Qingqing bowed his head and didn't speak, while the others didn't even dare to breathe heavily. Shame! All of them were deeply ashamed. After a long while, Yao Qingzuan gasped for a few breaths and sternly said, tell Liang Teng to take some people there and tell Xinhua to get the fuck back if he has no progress. Don't make a fool of yourself outside. Liang Teng. Yao Qingqing and the rest of the Yao family's complexion changed. Yao Qingqing hesitated and said, Dad, Liang Teng is the most powerful expert of our Yao family. Isn't it a bit too much to ask him to rush to Guangyang? Besides, he also has to take some people to guard against the Tang family in the imperial capital. If he leaves the imperial capital and the Tang family. Yao Qingzuan waved his hand to interrupt him and coldly snorted, what if the Tang family does? The Tang family is just a paper tiger now. They can scare those small families, but do they really dare to brazenly attack our Yao family? It's not that I look down on the Tang family, but I'm afraid they won't dare to attack us even if we lend them some courage. Yao Qingqing was silent for a moment before he slowly nodded and said, all right. Then I'll inform Liang Teng to hand over the security work to someone else tonight and rush to Guangyang early tomorrow morning. Shanghai Airport. Kang Xia, dressed in casual attire, walked out from the exit along with several employees of the magnificent Tang Corporation. Su Quan, who was thin but looked very shrewd, tightly held a black briefcase in his hand. It can't be, right? Big boss Tan Xiu didn't come to pick us up. Su Quan glanced around several times and complained at Kang Xia's side. Kang Xia glanced at him and smilingly said, we didn't contact him before we came. Let's go. I've booked a room at the Kapoor Hotel. Have a good rest tonight. Tomorrow is the wine tasting conference. I spent a lot of effort to get our booth, so we can't afford any mistakes. Chief Kang, rest assured. Sun Quan smiled. Kang Xia nodded slightly and took a taxi outside the airport. The group then rushed to Kapoor's 5-star hotel. After settling down, Kang Xia took a bath and changed into beautiful clothes before dialing Tan Xiu's cell number. Tang Xia, have you arrived in Shanghai? The call was connected, and Tan Xiu's voice came through the phone. Kang Xia said with a smile, yeah, I've already settled down in the hotel. Where are you? Is it convenient now? I'll go find you. I'm in Guangyang, Tan Xiu said. I have something important to deal with here. I'll go back after I'm done. Guangyang province. A disappointed look appeared on Kang Xia's face. She hesitated for a moment before asking, Boss, what did you do in Guangyang? Tomorrow is the wine tasting conference, can you still attend? I'm afraid I won't be able to attend tomorrow. Tan Xiu said. I'm afraid I won't be able to attend tomorrow. Kang Xia asked, then your school, I've arranged it properly, so you don't need to attend the military training. Tan Xiu said with a smile. The official start time of the class is on the 20th, so I just need to rush back before the class starts. As for the wine tasting conference, I need you to oversee it. Kang Xia forced a smile and said, don't worry. I'll definitely handle it well. Alright, then I'll leave it to you, Tan Xiu said. Kang Xia hung up the phone and put down the bag she had just picked up. She walked to the window and looked at the night scenery of Shanghai outside. The sense of loss in her heart became thicker. She put down a lot of work this time and personally went to Shanghai to attend the wine tasting conference. In fact, the main reason was that Tan Xiu was in Shanghai. She wanted to take advantage of this time to stay with Tan Xiu for a while. But how could he go to Guangyang? Kang Xia shook her head and secretly sighed inside. She found that Tan Xiu was getting busier and busier, and she often couldn't see him for a long time. Guangyang. Tan Xiu put down his mobile with a bit of a forced smile on his face. How could he not understand Kang Xia's thoughts? If it weren't for the matter with the Tang family, perhaps he would have already met Kang Xia and the two of them would have gone to eat supper somewhere. Beautiful scenery, gourmet food, and beautiful women. It's much better than racking my brains to plot against the enemy in Guangyang. Tan Xiu shook his head. His anger toward the Yao and Sun families suddenly turned thicker. After a moment of silence, he strode out of the room and shouted, "Gu Lang, come out and see me." Whoosh! A figure rushed out of the room. After Gu Lang appeared neatly dressed, he respectfully said, "What's your order, boss?" "My heart is restless and I can't sleep," said Tan Xiu. "Shall we go hunting tonight?" Gu Lang's eyes lit up. He nodded without hesitation and said, "I'll absolutely obey your order, boss." Tan Xiu waved and said, "No need to be so serious. Let's go. We have nothing to do here anyway. Although the Yao and Sun families are already jittery tonight, let's add some fuel to the fire." "That's right, call Li Xiaojie and let him be our driver." "Understood." Gu Lang replied and immediately walked toward the door at the side. "I'll drive the car right away, boss." Without waiting for Lone Wolf to approach the door, Li Xiaojie quickly opened the door and rushed out with a smile on his face. He even imitated the way Gu Lang addressed Tan Xiu. A few minutes later, an off-road vehicle rushed out of the factory gate. Li Xiaojie, who was in the driver's seat, asked with a smile on his face, "Where are we going to hunt, boss?" "To the Sun family," said Tan Xiu. Creak, while braking, Li Xiaojie shouted with a shocked expression, "Boss? We're going to hunt with the Sun family? You're not joking, are you?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" Tan Xiu calmly said. "I don't think so." Li Xiaojie forced a smile. "But, just the three of us going to the Sun family's base camp, we're just going to die." "Whether we're going to die or not, we'll know after we go there," said Tan Xiu lightly. "Cut the crap. I'm sure you know where the Sun family's base camp is, right? Let's drive." Li Xiaojie hesitated for a moment before he honestly drove forward. He always thought that Tan Xiu was a mature, steady, resourceful, and very capable descendant of the Tang family. Therefore, he never thought that Tan Xiu would do such a crazy thing because of a sudden idea. Going to the Sun family to hunt. This was not a joke. The Sun family's manor was very large, and 1/3 of the Sun family's armed forces were guarding the manor. Let alone the three of them, even if there were 300 of them, it would be very difficult to take down the Sun family's manor. Li Xiaojie secretly sighed inwardly. When his eyes inadvertently swept over Gu Lang's face, his heart suddenly trembled. It was because he found that Gu Lang not only didn't have the slightest fear, but his eyes were glowing with a high fighting spirit. Freak. The boss is a freak, and his men are also freaks. Li Xiaojie snorted a few times inwardly and concentrated on driving the car. Guan City, Sun family's manor. The Sun family's manor by the Autumn Water Lake had a beautiful environment and an excellent geographical location. There was a lake in the front and a mountain at the back. There were also all kinds of lush flowers and trees everywhere. Even at night, its beauty could be seen. At a fork in the road a few kilometers away from the Sun family's manor, Li Xiaojie parked the car on the roadside. "Boss, you really don't want me to go with you?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Gu Lang and I are going to sneak in. After we leave, drive the car far away to avoid being discovered by the Sun family's people." "I got it," said Li Xiaojie. "But pay attention to your safety, boss." Tan Xiu made an "okay" gesture and silently approached the Sun family's manor with Gu Lang under the cover of the night. At the same time, Tan Xiu had also released his spiritual sense, covering a radius of 200 to 300 meters. Within this range, he could clearly observe even the slightest movement of the grass, an ant, or a blade of grass. "Gu Lang, are you raised by Yan Er?" Approaching the courtyard wall outside the Sun family's manor, the two of them didn't directly climb over the wall but leaned against the wall and whispered. "Yes," said Gu Lang. As far as I know, Yen has bestowed a total of 6 surnames to 6 people. Aside from Gu Xiaoxue, you're the first person I've seen with the surname Gu, said Tan Xiu. You don't look that old, you should be less than 30 years old, right? 29, said Gu Lang. Tan Xiu shook his head. He was a bit helpless in this situation of asking and answering. He used his spiritual sense to observe that there was a patrol team of 10 people passing by, so he wanted to chat with Gu Lang in a low voice to kill time. He didn't expect his character to be so eccentric. A few minutes later, after the patrol team left the range of Tan Xiu's spiritual sense, he pointed to the electric net on the wall and whispered, "I'll throw you over there. It might be a bit high, so be careful and don't fall when you land." Gu Lang looked at the nearly 3-meter courtyard wall and the 1-meter electric net on both sides. He nodded and said, "A height of 4 to 5 meters is no problem for me. I once jumped down from the 3rd floor and was safe and sound." The 3rd floor. Tan Xiu glanced at Gu Lang and secretly nodded inside. For an ordinary person, being able to jump down from the 3rd floor and come out unscathed was indeed breaking through the limits of the human body. "Go!" Tan Xiu grabbed Gu Lang's waist and shouted in a low voice. His arms fiercely flung him up and threw him into the courtyard from above. A slight landing sound was heard. Tan Xiu found through his spiritual sense that Gu Lang was like an agile leopard cat as he rushed into the nearby woods. He immediately exclaimed in admiration. In the next moment, his toes stepped on the wall and his body sprinted. His fingers had already clasped the top of the wall under the electric net. As his fingers exerted force, his body soared into the sky and his toes also stepped on the place where his fingers had just clasped. Although it was just a light touch, the trace of force made him jump more than a meter higher and then easily flipped into the courtyard wall of the manor. Here's the 7th chapter. Although I'm exhausted, Jingye still has to pay the remaining 3 chapters. Brothers and sisters, let's continue our journey. Chapter 359. Tan Xiu's movements were as smooth as floating clouds and flowing water. The moment his feet stepped on the ground, he was like a cheetah shuttling through the bushes. In the blink of an eye, he had already dashed into the grove. The Sun family is very cautious. Pay attention to your safety. Tan Xiu looked at the flashlight light in the distance that was getting closer and closer as he whispered. "I know, boss," said Gu Lang. Tan Xiu pointed to several garden houses that were shrouded by his spiritual sense and whispered, "Our plan to assassinate the Sun family's people today is very hasty. We don't know much about the Sun family's environment or their armed forces. Therefore, we'll focus on the assassination list while the others will act as support. The elderly, children, and women. If they don't resist, try not to kill them as much as possible." "Understood." A strange expression appeared in Gu Lang's eyes as he silently nodded. Along with the patrol team's lights, they disappeared at the end of the distant path. Tan Xiu took Gu Lang through the blind spots of several surveillance cameras and silently approached the nearest garden house. In Tan Xiu's spiritual sense, he had already seen the garden house. Apart from a woman and 2 children, there was also a middle-aged man sitting in the study room, playing with a pistol. Li Yi, the Sun family's son-in-law. He's good at fighting and has a flexible mind. He has made many contributions to the Sun family. When Tan Xiu saw the man's appearance, the investigation information about him emerged in his mind. The photo on the information was exactly the same as the middle-aged man. In the study room, Li Yi was playing with the pistol with a smile in his eyes. He was silently thinking about something in his mind. Sun Filong is dead, and the Sun family's power has been greatly reduced. The available manpower is getting less and less. Then, wouldn't he be able to get more rights? Take charge of more territories? Humph, those who are not of my clan will have a different heart. So what if I don't have the Sun family's bloodline? Wait until more and more of you die, then my rights will get bigger and bigger. At that time, even if you don't want to use me, you won't be able to find anyone else to replace me. Li Yi put down the pistol and simply didn't see the shadow flashing outside the window. He dialed a cell number and said in a deep voice, "Big Biao, control our people. The Sun family doesn't know about your existence. Now is the time when the Sun family has become the Yao family's lackey and fight with the Tang family. The more people from the Sun family die, the more power and wealth we will get from the Sun family in the future. So, preserve your strength. If there's a chance in the future, it's not impossible for us to replace them." Understood. Li Yi hung up the phone and grabbed the pistol again. Outside the window, Tan Xiu heard Li Yi's words clearly. A strange light flashed in his eyes. Without alerting him, he quietly left and met up with Gu Lang in a dark corner. With a smile, Tan Xiu lowered his voice and said, "Interesting. A foreign member of the Sun clan doesn't seem to be of the same mind as the Sun clan. Keep him, he'll be of great use to me in the future." Gu Lang didn't know what Tan Xiu meant, but he absolutely obeyed Tan Xiu's order. He nodded and said, "Then, shall we go somewhere else?" "All right." Tan Xiu replied and slowly rushed toward a nearby garden house. In the dark, Tan Xiu and Gu Lang sneaked into the garden house and almost wasted no effort as they came to the bedroom on the second floor. At this time, a man and a woman were sleeping soundly in the bedroom. Tan Xiu recognized that the man was a member of the Sun family's branch family. Bam! Puff! As Gu Lang's fist hit the woman and directly knocked her out, the Mitsubishi Army knife in Tan Xiu's hand tore the sleeping man's throat and directly killed him. Next one. The two of them didn't stay for long. They came and went without a trace and soon appeared in another garden house. Tan Xiu could observe with his spiritual sense, so he could easily observe the situation in each garden house and find the enemy's location in the first place. Although Gu Lang didn't have a super cheating tool like Tan Xiu, he had fought countless times in a hail of bullets and had a strong experience in assassination. Therefore, under the cooperation of the two of them, 6 members of the Sun family in the garden houses were either knocked out or killed in just half an hour. The number of people who died in their hands had reached 8. Inside a garden house in the Sun family's manor, Sun Feiwu hadn't rested yet. 2 burly men were standing in front of him, reporting the losses tonight and discussing how to solve the problem tonight. He was the 3rd brother of the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Feilei, an absolute figure with real power. Moreover, he alone controlled 1/3 of the Sun family's military force and nearly 1/10 of the family's wealth. It could be said that if the Sun family lost him, it would be tantamount to breaking a finger. "Chang, my second brother has been killed. I'll temporarily hand over the family business he used to manage to you. I've already discussed it with Big Brother, and he has agreed. Remember, I'll send you 20 experts who will listen to your command. Once you find the enemy, you don't have to worry and kill them with all your strength." Sun Feiwu's eyes fell on one of the burly men and said with a serious face, "Don't worry, I'll kill the Tang family's bastards one by one. I guarantee that they'll die a very..." Puff! A Mitsubishi Army knife fiercely stabbed into the man's back, and a pair of slender fingers covered his mouth. At the door, another figure dashed in like lightning with a dagger in his hand. In just a breath's time, the man had already dashed to the side of another burly man. As the dagger left his hand, it stabbed into the burly man's neck. "Who's there?" Sun Feiwu's complexion greatly changed. He reacted quickly and opened the drawer, grabbing a pistol from inside. When the muzzle was aimed at Sun Feiwu, Tan Xiu, who was the first to dash in, had already flashed to his side. The knife was raised and slashed down, chopping off Sun Feiwu's hand that was holding the pistol. "Don't make a sound." Tan Xiu strangled Sun Feiwu's neck and covered his mouth with one hand, while the Mitsubishi Army knife in his other hand was also placed on his neck. The pain made Sun Feiwu's complexion turn red. His body twitched, but he couldn't make the slightest sound. He could only watch helplessly as 2 of his trusted men were killed and fell in a pool of blood in front of him. His heart was like a cold flood in June, incomparably cold. A smile hung on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he lightly said, "Life is the most important thing. No matter how much wealth you control or how much power you have, you can't take anything with you once you die. So, staying alive is the most important thing. Give me money and I'll spare your life." Sun Feiwu endured the pain and squirmed his lower lip, indicating that he wanted to speak. Tan Xiu released Sun Feiwu's mouth and coldly said, "Don't even think about calling for help. You can only make a little bit of sound at most, and the knife in my hand will tear your throat. Take the money and buy your life. I want to know how much your life is worth. Who are you?" Sun Feiwu felt the blood flowing out of his wrist and hurriedly asked. "You don't need to know who we are," Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. "Us brothers have been stranded in Guanyang province and now we can't even eat. We heard that your Sun family is very rich, so we originally wanted to kidnap your wife and extort money from you. But she has been staying in your family these 2 days, refusing to go out no matter what. So us brothers can only take the risk to get some money from you." Sun Feiwu's pupils contracted as he asked in a deep voice, "You're not from the Tang family?" Tan Xiu's brows pricked as he pretended to be surprised and asked, "The Tang family? Who's the Tang family?" Sun Feiwu's heart was shaken as he said in a deep voice, "You're not from the Tang family, yet you dare to break into my Sun family. Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to return? You must know that there are patrols everywhere in our manor. You'll die without a burial ground as long as you're discovered." With a strange expression, Tan Xiu said, "Do you have patrols in this broken manor? How come you didn't notice us when we sneaked in? I just saw a few guys following you in and then left. Only the 3 of you stayed here. Damn it." Sun Feiwu's heart was filled with hatred. Never in his dreams did he expect that these 2 bastards with strong martial strength were not from the Tang family, but for his money. They were extremely lucky and didn't bump into the patrols and slipped into his place. What an unlucky thing. He had encountered it countless of times. But he dared to swear that he had never encountered such an unlucky thing in his life. "How much money do you want?" "I'll give it to you," Sun Feiwu said in a deep voice. "I heard that your Sun family is very rich, and your wife seems to manage a big company. You should have a lot of money in your hands, right?" Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Tell me, how much is your life and your wife's life worth? Remember, if you dare to deceive us and don't give us the money, you'll die a miserable death. We'll also humiliate and torture your wife and then kill her." The killing intent in Sun Feiwu's heart surged. But at this moment, he was like a fish on the chopping block. Although he wanted to kill them, he didn't dare to act rashly. "I'll give you the money. I'll give you 10 million. 10 million. Tan Xiu was pleasantly surprised. "You'll really give us 10 million? Gu Lang said, "Your life is worth 10 million. That's too little." Gu Lang said. "You said 10 million is too little, Gu Lang?" Tan Xiu asked. "Does their family have more money?" "That's right. I heard that their big company is worth more than 1 billion, Gu Lang said. Tan Xiu's complexion changed. He stabbed the knife into Sun Feiwu's thigh and covered his mouth as he shouted, "Damn bastard. You want to send me away with 10 million? Do you think I'm that gullible? No, give me more." Gu Lang said, "I think he can afford to pay 200 million yuan, 200 million. Tan Xiu exclaimed. "Can he really take it out?" Gu Lang said, "Whether he can take it out or not depends on his ability. If he can't give us 200 million, then we'll kill him and let him ask his wife for it." "That's right. Women are very timid." Tan Xiu nodded. "How about we kill him now? I heard that his wife is very good looking." "We can. I'll give it to you." Sun Feiwu immediately interrupted Tan Xiu the moment he released Tan Xiu. Chapter 360. Tan Xiu looked at Sun Feiwu with satisfaction. Now that the Tang family had suffered heavy losses, he didn't mind killing the Sun family's people to make up for the family's losses. The conversation with Gu Lang just now was, in fact, what the two of them had discussed before. The two of them had killed many high-ranking members of the Sun family. Before coming to Sun Feiwu's place, they had forced those people to transfer more than 200 million to Gu Lang's account. Gu Lang, give him the account and tell him to transfer the money through the online bank immediately. Upon hearing it, Gu Lang immediately gave the account to Sun Feiwu. A few minutes later, after Gu Lang had received the money, he lightly said, "Your life is saved, but your wife's life has yet to be saved. Give me another 200 million and we'll let you and your wife go." Sun Feiwu was furious. Gu Lang raised the dagger in his hand and lightly said, "Think about it yourself. If you don't want to spend money to buy your wife's life, then you'll be knocked out and your wife will have a very miserable end. I don't have that much money. There should be more than 100 million in my account. My wife and I only have this much in total. The rest of the money is in the family business," said Sun Feiwu bitterly. "Check the balance in your account and transfer all the money to me," said Gu Lang lightly. "All right." Sun Feiwu hesitated for a moment and quickly checked his account balance and told the number to Gu Lang. Gu Lang glanced at it and lightly said, "There's still more than 110 million. Transfer all of it to me." Sun Feiwu didn't utter another word. After transferring all the money, he then said, "Can you let us go now? Also, if you promise me one thing, I'll give you all the money and I won't tell anyone." "What is it?" asked Tan Xiu. "Follow me later and I'll ensure that you'll be rich and have no worries for the rest of your life," said Sun Feiwu seriously. Tan Xiu released Sun Feiwu and walked toward him, saying with a smile, "Your condition is very tempting. If my surname wasn't Tang, I might consider your opinion." Puff, the dagger in Gu Lang's hand pierced Sun Feiwu's heart. "Damn! So you're really the Tang family's people. You clearly said that I'll give you money." Sun Feiwu's pupils constricted as he cried out in rage. Tan Xiu interrupted him and smilingly said, "I did say that I won't kill you if you pay me for your life. But I'm not the one who did it, so you better die and reincarnate." The dagger in Gu Lang's hand stabbed several times before finally touching Sun Feiwu's neck. Only then did he look at Tan Xiu and say with a smile, "Boss, we earned quite a lot today." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "It's indeed quite a lot, much more than I expected. Looks like robbing houses can really make a fortune." What was that saying again? "A horse is not fat without grass at night, and a man is not rich without a windfall. Keep this money safe for now. After tonight, transfer it to the Swiss bank immediately." "All right." Lone Wolf nodded. Half an hour later, after Tan Xiu and Lone Wolf killed 21 members of the Sun family, a furious roar came from the garden house not far away. "Someone's been killed. There's an enemy." In the garden house, Tan Xiu and Lone Wolf glanced at each other and tacitly nodded. They no longer looked at the man lying in a pool of blood and quickly ran outside. Under the monitoring of Tan Xiu's spiritual sense, he could clearly observe any scene within a radius of 200 to 300 meters. His expression changed slightly when he saw the patrol teams that had broken into his divine sense and returned. The Sun family's patrol team's reaction and mobility are very strong. We'll encounter a patrol team of 10 people ahead. Don't get entangled with them and kill as many as you can. The most important thing is to escape, whispered Tan Xiu after hiding in the bushes. Got it. Killing intent flashed in Lone Wolf's eyes. He had experienced this kind of scene countless times, so he didn't have any fear. On the contrary, he was a bit excited to follow Tan Xiu and take risks. He was now like a fish struggling in the river. He wanted to be a carp that jumped over the dragon gate and become a dragon that could dominate the sea after obtaining the opportunity. Go! Tan Xiu whispered, and the two moved forward side by side. In just 20 seconds, they had already met the patrol team of 10 people. Without any nonsense, Tan Xiu and Lone Wolf launched a fierce attack the moment they saw each other. The middle-aged man who pulled out his pistol was cut by Tan Xiu and his heart was pierced by Tan Xiu before he could shoot. At this moment, Lone Wolf's nimble movements killed 2 people at once. Be careful. Lone Wolf's complexion suddenly changed, and his body instantly rushed to Tan Xiu. At the moment when he knocked Tan Xiu out, his right arm was pierced by a bullet, and blood splashed out. Sniper. Tan Xiu's complexion changed. Within the scope of his spiritual sense, except for the members of the 2 patrol teams who were rushing at a very fast speed, there was no sign of a sniper at all. In other words, the sniper was now aiming at them from a further distance. Go! Tan Xiu waved his saber and killed a member of the patrol team. He reached out and grabbed Lone Wolf's other arm, and rushed toward the wall of the villa. Get ready! When Tan Xiu was still more than 10 meters away from the wall, he shouted. Sprinting forward, the lightning-like figure was getting closer and closer to the wall. When he was only 4 or 5 meters away, he threw Lone Wolf out. And he, using both his hands and feet, jumped over the electric fence on the wall and successfully rushed out. Puff! The moment Tan Xiu lifted his leg and dashed away, a bullet hit the place where he moved his feet. Boss, be careful. Lone Wolf's speed slowed down a lot, and Tan Xiu easily caught up with him. Tan Xiu did not speak. The moment he reached out and grabbed Lone Wolf's shoulder, his speed increased again. He had already raised his speed to the extreme, and he fled to the distance like a ghost. In the Sun family's villa, Sun Feng was holding a sniper rifle and observing through binoculars. He shot a total of 2 times, one of which hit an enemy's arm, and the other missed. At this time, no one knew how horrified he was. He had encountered many powerful opponents, but none of them had such a fast speed. That speed, it had simply broken through the limit of what a human could do. Even if he was far away and used the sniper rifle's scope to observe, he could only capture a little bit of the trajectory. Is he still a human? Sun Feng's mouth revealed a touch of bitterness. Looking at the enemy disappearing in the distant night, he helplessly put away his sniper rifle and quickly ran down. On the side of the road 4 or 5 kilometers away from the Sun family's villa, Li Xiaojie was sitting in the driver's seat, smoking and observing the surrounding scene. Suddenly, his expression slightly moved. When he saw Tan Xiu sprinting back from tens of meters away, his complexion slightly changed. What a fast speed! Li Xiaojie's heart was greatly shaken. With his keen eyesight, he saw Lone Wolf being carried by Tan Xiu, as well as his arm that had been dyed red with blood. Bam! The door was opened and quickly closed. Tan Xiu shouted in a deep voice, quickly drive the car and evacuate immediately. Li Xiaojie started the car and drove away at a very fast speed. After driving for more than 10 kilometers, he asked, Boss, is Lone Wolf okay? At this time, Tan Xiu had torn the clothes on Lone Wolf's wound and pressed his acupoints to stop the bleeding. Upon hearing Li Xiaojie's question, he shook his head and said, It's not fatal. But we must return to Hongpa district as fast as possible. I need to take the bullet out of his arm. Got it. Li Xiaojie replied. Lone Wolf grinned and said with a smile, This injury is nothing, boss. We can't go back to Hongpa district directly. We even have to abandon this car halfway. Otherwise, the Sun family's people will be able to find the factory in Hongpa district through the surveillance video on the road as well as the place where this car appeared. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment before he immediately took out his mobile and dialed Tang Wei's cell number. When Tang Wei's drowsy voice was heard, Tan Xiu said in a deep voice, Don't sleep yet. Immediately drive out and pick us up. I won't tell you the specific address, but we'll keep in touch. What do you mean? Aren't you? Tang Wei became spirited and asked curiously. We were bored at night, so we went to the Sun family to assassinate them, said Tan Xiu. Lone Wolf was injured and needs to go back to treat his injuries. Hurry up and don't dawdle. All right. Although Tang Wei was shocked that Tan Xiu and Lone Wolf went to the Sun family to assassinate them in the middle of the night, he also knew that it was not the time to understand the situation. After replying, he put on his clothes and rushed outside. Half an hour later. Tang Wei received Tan Xiu's group of 3. The car driven by Tan Xiu's group was abandoned. Li Xiaojie shot the fuel tank from afar, causing it to burst into flames. The 4 of them then left at an extremely fast speed. This license plate may be fake, but we can't leave it behind. Li Xiaojie stuffed the license plate into the car and sat down. He then looked at the gloomy Tang Wei. At this moment, Tang Wei was furious. He was furious that Tan Xiu, Lone Wolf, and Li Xiaojie were so bold that they even dared to run to the Sun family to assassinate them. He had heard that the Sun family's armed defense force was very tight and powerful. He felt it was a bit inconceivable that the 3 of them could come back alive. Tan Xiu, if Grandpa knows about this, I'm sure he'll be furious. You're too bold. It's fine if you went to other places to assassinate them, but you actually dared to run to the Sun family to assassinate them. Are you tired of living? Finally, Tang Wei couldn't bear it anymore. He glanced at Tan Xiu through the rearview mirror and said angrily. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he said, I know you're worried, brother Tang Wei. But aren't we already out of there now? Besides, our performance tonight is pretty good. Boss, you just went in for more than an hour. How many people can you kill? Li Xiaojie forced a smile. You sneaked in for more than an hour? And you even managed to escape? Tang Wei frowned. If we don't count those patrolmen we killed when we came out, we killed a total of 21 people from the Sun family, Tan Xiu said with a smile. All of them are members of the list I made. They're also the backbone of the Sun family. Unfortunately, we didn't find the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Feilei. Otherwise, tonight's sneak attack would have been a success. What? Chapter 361. Tang Wei's expression greatly changed, and even Li Xiaojie looked incredulous. 21. The Sun family's backbone power, the concentrated power of the clansmen, was probably only a dozen people, while the number of high-level stewards was probably less than 30. They had killed a few before, yet Tan Xiu and Gu Lang had killed 21 people in just an hour. So, almost all the Sun family's clansmen had been killed. Tang Wei gulped down and probed, brother, you're not lying, right? You really killed the 21 people on the Sun family's list? Absolutely. Tan Xiu nodded. That list was made by me, so I naturally know who we killed tonight. Also, I found something interesting tonight. Perhaps it won't be long before the Sun family is no longer our enemy. What do you mean? Tang Wei was confused. Just wait. Tan Xiu smiled mysteriously. You'll know soon enough. At this time, the Sun family's manor had turned into a pot of porridge. Many old, weak, sick and disabled people ran out of the garden houses and shouted loudly. Teams of patrol members were constantly rushing between the garden houses. As the corpses were carried out, people kept crying and howling. Li Yi led the members of the 2 patrol teams. With a pale face, he commanded everyone to carry the corpses out and carry them to the Sun family's central square. At this time, he secretly felt lucky because he found that the enemy came from the courtyard wall closest to his residence, but the enemy didn't attack him. Instead, they started to attack the Sun family's clansmen who lived not far from him. Harbor City, River Bay Manor. Sun Feilei and Yao Xinhua were plotting the next action plan and sharing the armed forces that both sides still had. Although the Sun family suffered heavy losses tonight, Sun Feilei was confident that he could completely defeat the Tang family and become the biggest super family in Guanyang province with the help of the Yao family. Ring, 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 their conversation was interrupted by the urgent ringtone of a mobile phone. Sun Feilei frowned. Anger flashed in his eyes when he saw that the call was from his wife. After the call was connected, he said in a deep voice, I have something important to do now, so I can go back later. Don't bother me if there's nothing important. Honey, something happened. The woman's sobbing voice came from the phone. Sun Feilei's expression changed. He suddenly stood up and asked, "What happened?" "The Sun family is finished." The woman began to weep. Sun Feilei angrily shouted, "As long as I'm alive, the Sun family will not be finished. Hurry up and tell me, what happened?" "Hubby, some enemies sneaked into our Sun family's manor and killed many of our people. Fei Wu is dead, Sun Wei is dead, Qian Jin is also dead. Almost all of the direct descendants of the Sun clan are dead. All the people who held important positions in the Sun family are dead." 21, not counting the patrol members who were killed, 21 are dead. "What?" Fei Lei shouted angrily with his eyes wide open. He simply couldn't believe his ears. The dignified Sun family manor house definitely had extremely powerful armed defenses. How could there be an enemy attacking the Sun family manor house? Also, he even killed so many high-level members of the Sun family. "Bastard, are you kidding me? This joke is not funny at all." The woman cried even louder. "I'm not joking. I'm telling the truth. All of them are dead. Our Sun family is finished." Sun Feilei's body trembled and the mobile in his hand fell to the ground. "What happened, Patriarch Sun?" asked Yao Xinhua in a deep voice. Sun Feilei looked up blankly and saw the concerned expression on Yao Xinhua's face. He seemed to have lost his soul as he slumped on the sofa and muttered, "They're all dead. All the high-level members of the Sun family are dead." Yao Xinhua's expression greatly changed. He grabbed Sun Feilei's clothes and angrily shouted, "What the hell are you talking about? Who has the ability to kill all the high-level members of the Sun family?" "I don't know." Sun Feilei shook his head. "It was my wife who called me. Not counting the members of the patrol team, just the high-level members of the Sun family alone are dead." Yao Xinhua loosened Sun Feilei's clothes. With a frightened look on his face, he took 2 steps back and gulped down his saliva. The Sun family was the local tyrant of Guangyang. There were only about 30 people who held real power in the entire Sun family. A few of them had died before, and now another 21 had died. Then, how many high-level members of the Sun family were still alive? Yao Xinhua took a deep breath and suppressed the fear inside his heart. He then shouted in a deep voice, "Let's go. We'll immediately go to the Sun family." Fukang Province, the Huang family. Huang Jinfu had already fallen asleep, but he was awakened by his cell phone's ringtone. When he hung up the phone, his face was full of shock. That's right. He was shocked by the information he had just received. The dignified Sun family of Guangyang had its high-level members massacred overnight. Although the number of enemies had yet to be investigated, it was said to be very small. Only 2 of them were discovered. The Everlasting Feast Hall. Hehe, the Sun family is probably finished since the Everlasting Feast Hall has become their enemy. The Yao family, TSK, TSK. If the Everlasting Feast Hall mobilizes all their people, massacring the Yao family overnight, it shouldn't be a big problem, right? Huang Jinfu took a deep breath and immediately dialed a cell number. "Old classmate, hurry up. It's best if Bai Yang can return to the Bai family tomorrow morning." "I know. Just now, You also received the news. The Sun family is finished?" "Yes." Huang Jinfu forced a smile and said, "Now you should understand how terrifying the Everlasting Feast Hall is, right? Let alone the Sun family, even my Huang family. I'm afraid we'll be completely massacred overnight. Brother Jinfu, tell me, what kind of force is this Everlasting Feast Hall?" The middle-aged man's voice came out again from the phone. "I don't know." Huang Jinfu forced a smile. "I really don't know. It's very mysterious and very terrifying. The most important thing is that the Everlasting Feast Hall's people are too low-key." "I understand. You can rest assured that I won't send people to investigate the Everlasting Feast Hall. Also, I'll try my best to build a good relationship with the Everlasting Feast Hall's people." "That's right, if you see that person again, please help me ask if the Everlasting Feast Hall is willing to open a branch in Guangyang. My Chu family will definitely spare no effort to help. All right. The phone call ended. Huang Jinfu's expression was a bit complicated. After putting down the phone, he draped his clothes and came to the window. Looking at the quiet scenery outside, he secretly sighed inwardly. Who would have thought that the Sun family would suffer an unprecedented blow on such a peaceful night? There's also the Chu family. I'll help them if I can. If the Chu family can build a good relationship with the Everlasting Feast Hall, the Huang family can consider reaching a secret alliance agreement with the Chu family in the future. Imperial Capital. Tang Guosheng was awakened from his sleep. After listening to the phone call, he burst into laughter and immediately called Tan Xiu. Compared to Tang Guosheng, the Yao family's old patriarch, Yao Qingzuan, had completely lost sleep. After being silent for a long time, he also dialed Yao Xinhua's number and said 4 words, turn offense into defense. The next morning, 2 Audi cars drove into Guangyang's Nanhe Detention Center. After several middle-aged men entered, they only stayed inside for a few minutes before leaving in a hurry. Inside the detention center. Inside a detention room with poor conditions, Bai Yang looked at the 4 walls and smoked a cigarette with a dispirited face. The cigarette was given to him by the detention center's director, who had once received his grace. He knew. He was finished. Perhaps it was very likely that his Bai family was finished. He was a bit resentful, blaming the old patriarch for choosing the wrong side in the past. Why did he choose to stand on the Tang family's side? He was very clear about the Tang family's current situation. Although they had an extremely high reputation and could be regarded as a top family in the imperial capital, there was no way to compare them with the past. Now, I'm afraid the Tang family's forces in Guangyang can't even protect themselves, right? I'm afraid it's difficult for me to be safe and sound. Bai Yang sighed inwardly. Bang! Along with the sound of the iron door outside, the detention center's director, Jiang Yangwen, along with several police officers, came to the room where Bai Yang was detained. Director Jiang, what are you doing? Bai Yang's heart sank as he asked. With a thick smile on his face, Jiang Yangwen said, Brother Yang, I just received an order that you've been released. Furthermore, it's an order issued by the provincial number 1 and number 2 at the same time. That's right, the provincial number 1 also said that you should hurry back home. He'll treat you to lunch at the Tsuiwei house. What did you say? A shocked expression appeared on Bai Yang's face as he asked with uncertainty. Jiang Yangwen repeated what he had just said and said with a smile, Brother Yang, it's really all right. They said that the investigation has been done and the person who framed you has been arrested. It's a member of the Sun family who wrote an anonymous letter. Also, there's news that the guy will be sent here to be detained soon. Bai Yang swallowed his saliva and glanced at the police officers. Jiang Yangwen instantly understood Bai Yang's thoughts. He waved to the police officers and motioned them to leave first. When there were only 2 people left in the room, he said, Brother Yang, what do you want to know? Director Jiang, what's the reason? Bai Yang asked. Jiang Yangwen took a few steps back and looked outside the door to make sure that there was no one else. Then, he moved closer to Bai Yang and whispered, Brother Yang, something big happened in Guangyang. Wasn't the Tang family's Starlight Group HQ burned down? Last night, someone burned the Yao family and the Sun family's HQ building. Moreover, 200 to 300 people from these 2 families died. I heard that they were assassinated. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that the Sun family is miserable. Late last night, someone sneaked into the Sun family's villa and killed most of the Sun family's senior members. Now, apart from the Sun family's head, Sun Feilei, there are only a few core members of the family in the other provinces. A look of ecstasy appeared on Bai Yang's face. Suddenly, he had a profound realization, mountains and rivers are heavy, and there's no way out, but there's a glimmer of hope at the darkest hour. The tragedy of the Sun family and the loss of the Yao family made him think of the Tang family. He was even sure that the Tang family was the one who could do such a big thing. Chapter 362. Imperial Capital, Tang family's ancestral residence. It was reasonable to say that it was very difficult for the core members of the Tang family to gather unless it was a festive occasion. But today, except for those who couldn't rush back from other places, everyone else was gathered here. Even Tang Yunda and his wife, who had yet to return to Star City, also came here. Have you heard? Our Tang family has bullied the Yao and Sun families in Guangyang. Just last night, the Yao family and the Sun family suffered huge losses. I got the news. Tan Xiao is indeed worthy to be a descendant of our Tang family. His means are really amazing. Last night, I heard the old patriarch laughing for a long time. Yunda, Lingyun, you really have a good son. If it weren't for Tan Xiao, I'm afraid our Tang family's business in Guangyang would have been completely driven out. Tang Yunda listened to the discussions of the people around him, as well as his family members who were chatting amiably with him. The smile on his face was particularly bright. On the contrary, Su Lingyun's smile was a bit forced. But considering Tang Yunda's face, she still forced a smile to deal with everyone. Little Yun, are you unhappy? After noticing his wife's expression, Tang Yunda pulled her to the place where people were talking and asked in a low voice. No, I'm not unhappy. I'm just a bit worried. Su Lingyun shook her head. There are so many family members involved in the family's major event. I can't figure out why Xiao ran to Guangyang to preside over the overall situation. Although I don't understand the disputes between big families, I heard that it's very cruel. So many people from the Yao and Sun families have died. I'm afraid that if something unexpected happens to Xiao, Tang Yunda gently hugged Su Lingyun in his arms and softly said, don't worry. Xiao can do so well in Guangyang, which shows that he has grown up. There are some things that he must experience sooner or later, but now it's a bit ahead of time. You see, isn't Xiao fine now? He called the old patriarch last night, and he's still safe and sound. Maybe he brought people to beat the Yao family until they're afraid. Will the Yao family really be afraid after being beaten? Su Lingyun asked hesitantly. If they're afraid of being beaten up, does that mean that the dispute between our two families will end? I can't say for sure now, but I think it should be almost there, said Tang Yunda with a smile. The Yao family doesn't really want to shed all pretense of cordiality with our Tang family. What they did in Guangyang and Fukang was just to test the waters and test our Tang family's cards. Su Lingyun was a bit relieved as she nodded and said, Yunda, do you think we should go to Guangyang to support Xiao? I'm afraid. No need to be afraid. Tang Yunda shook his head. Xiao was smart and brave. If he really couldn't take it anymore, he definitely wouldn't force himself to do so. Can't you see how happy everyone in the family is? It means that we have now won. I'll ask Old Master later. If things over there come to an end, I'll ask Xiao to hurry back to Shanghai. Su Lingyun quickly nodded and said, yes, yes. You must ask him later. Xiao was a university student at a prestigious university like Shanghai University. I can't let it affect my studies. Don't worry. Tang Yunda comforted her. Inside the ancestral house, the two brothers, Tang Guosheng and Tang Guoshou, sat face to face with only a tea table between them. At this moment, both of them had smiles on their aged faces. Amazing. Truly amazing. Tang Guoshou exclaimed. Tang Guosheng nodded and said, I agreed to let him preside over Guangyang before, but I actually didn't expect him to do anything. I even made up my mind that even if I lose Guangyang, I'll just lose it. I'll just consider it as sharpening him. I didn't expect that the surprise he gave me would turn out to be. Ring, 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 a mobile phone rang. Tang Guosheng picked up the phone. After hearing the other party's words, he suddenly stood up and hurriedly asked, is what you said true? Bai Yang has been released? Guangyang's number 1 and number 2 signed the authorization at the same time? Good, good, good. Ha. I got it. After hanging up the phone, Tang Guosheng happily said, the Bai family's patriarch, Bai Yang, has been released. I really didn't expect it. What show did yesterday even shocked number 1 and number 2? I'm afraid they don't want us to have a dispute with the Yao and Sun families again, so they released Bai Yang. Tang Guosheng squinted his eyes and slowly said, Big brother, don't let the pleasant surprise get to your head. I don't think this matter is that simple. It's reasonable to say that Guangyang's number 1 and number 2 are not our people. Although they're not the Yao family's people, they should hope that we and the Yao family will fight to the death, right? Tang Guosheng stared blankly for a moment and the smile on his face quickly receded. After hesitating for a while, he said hesitantly, could it be that they don't want a large-scale fight to happen in their territory again? Unlikely. Tang Guosheng shook his head. The Chu family is the biggest family in Guangyang, and the Chu family's patriarch is the number 1 figure in Guangyang. He has a close relationship with the neutral party, so they shouldn't easily intervene. But I think this matter has nothing to do with Xiu. Tang Guosheng shook his head and smilingly said, I say, third brother, don't you think Xiu is too powerful? Even if he's very outstanding, there's no way he can intervene in the officialdom, no? You. Tang Guosheng was silent for a moment before he took out his mobile and said, I'll call him and ask. Tang Guosheng stared blankly for a moment before he couldn't help laughing and said, since you insist on thinking so, I'd like to see the result. You call him. Half a minute later. Tang Guosheng dialed Tan Xiu's number. After Tan Xiu picked up the call, he smilingly said, Xiu, it's me, your third grandpa. Where are you now? I'm on the way to Fukang province. Tan Xiu replied. I know what you did, Xiu, asked Tang Guosheng with a smile. It's very good, very good. The Yao family's arrogance has been beaten down by you. Third grandpa, you called me not just to praise me, right? Tan Xiu smilingly asked. What's the matter? You're too smart, kid. Tang Guosheng laughed. That's right, I have something to ask you. The Bai family's patriarch, Bai Yang, has been released this morning. He personally called your grandpa to express his gratitude. I'm curious, is his release related to you? That's right. Tan Xiu said. I found the patriarch of the Huang family in Fukang province and made some deals with him. Don't ask about the deal, third grandpa. I guarantee it won't bring any harm to the Tang family. It's my other business dealings. The Huang family's patriarch, Huang Jinfu, can influence the Chu family. Tang Guosheng was surprised. My business dealings are not only with the Huang family, but also with the Chu family, said Tan Xiu. Although I don't have direct contact with the Chu family, it's the best choice to go through the Huang family's patriarch, Huang Jinfu. Tang Guosheng's lips squirmed as he sighed, heroes have always been young since ancient times. I'm convinced. There are only a few people in this world who can make this old man convinced, but I'm convinced by you. You've done these things beautifully, very beautifully. When you come back to the imperial capital, let's have a good drink. All right. Tang Xiu said with a smile. Tang Guosheng hung up the phone and looked at Tang Guosheng, who had a strange expression on his face, saying, Big brother, did you just hear it? I turned on the loudspeaker. Bai Yang being able to come out is indeed Tan Xiu's doing. As for the deal he made with the Chu family, I won't ask since he doesn't want to say it. Tang Guosheng's eyes flickered as he murmured, Third brother, haven't you noticed that Xiu is too mysterious? I suddenly have a feeling that he's not hiding something from us, but hiding too many secrets from us. Who cares? Tang Guosheng grinned. No matter how many secrets he's hiding from us, he's still a descendant of our Tang family. He won't do anything bad to our family. As long as he has the ability and is willing, I'm sure no one in the family will object even if you directly pass the Tang family's patriarch position to him. Tang Guosheng said with a smile, You're right. Tang Guosheng said with a smile, if he has the ability, the Tang family's power can be handed over to him in the future. How could he do something harmful to his own family? Forget it, let's not ask about it. Let's not send people to investigate. I believe he'll tell us one day in the future. All right. On the other side. The Tang family was celebrating, while the Yao family was gloomy and gloomy. The Yao family's patriarch, Yao Qingzuan, had a livid complexion and didn't speak a word. He sat in his study for several hours and only stepped out at noon. Qing, inform Liang Teng to come back. Also, send someone to the Tang family. Tell them that the Tang family's old geezer is in poor health and send him some tonics. Yao Qing's complexion greatly changed as he hurriedly said, Dad, isn't this the same as admitting defeat to the Tang family? Our Yao family's loss in Guangyang is not big, but the Sun family's. Furthermore, we haven't exerted our strength in Fukang. Once we start there, the Tang family's chances of keeping Guangyang and Fukang are not big. Yao Qingzuan coldly snorted and said, Until now, you still haven't clearly investigated the Tang family's people in Guangyang. What do you think our Yao family's chances of winning are if we continue fighting? This, Yao Qingqing didn't know how to answer. Suddenly, Yao Qingqing's cell phone rang. When he picked up the call and listened to the other party's words, he didn't speak for a long time. What happened this time? Seeing his son's silent expression, a bad premonition arose inside Yao Qingzuan's heart as he asked in a deep voice. With a bitter expression, Yao Qingqing said, Bai Yang has been released. It's Guangyang's number 1 and number 2 who signed the authorization at the same time. Furthermore, someone from the imperial capital has also spoken. Yao Qingzuan's complexion changed. After a long silence, he suddenly smiled. However, his smile was a bit ugly. What a good Tang family. I didn't expect them to hide so deeply. As long as that Tang family's old geezer doesn't die, I'm afraid it'll be a bit difficult to bring them down. Forget it. We've already probed everything that needs to be probed. Let's just do as I instructed earlier. All right. Yao Qingqing nodded without a word. Yao Qingzuan stopped his son who was about to leave and said in a deep voice, Remember, even if the fight over there is suspended, you must clearly investigate who's the Tang family in Guangyang. I'll pass down the order. I'm really sorry. I've been discussing a very important project today and haven't been able to touch the computer, so the update was late. Wait for the second chapter. Chapter 363. On the provincial highway from Guangyang to Fukang, 2 cars sped along at lightning speed. Tan Xiao was sitting in the second car, quietly reading the information about the Yang family. This time, he didn't bring a large number of people with him to Fukang, only 6 experts of the everlasting feast hall. It was because the first step in his plan was to carry out an assassination. Assassination could be described by the saying, it's not the quantity of soldiers that counts, but the quality. Each of the 6 experts of the everlasting feast hall was capable of holding their own. Therefore, Tan Xiao was confident that the 7 of them could set off a bloody storm in Fukang in the following assassination operation. Boss, Instructor Chen is in Fukang. He wants to see you. A man in the front seat turned his head and reported after hanging up the phone. Who's Instructor Chen? Tan Xiao raised his brows and asked with a puzzled expression. Chen Xiaohua. The man whispered. Where is he now? Tan Xiao looked surprised and asked. He's in the Emerald Grand Hotel, answered the man. We haven't determined a place to stay, anyway. Let's go straight to the Emerald Grand Hotel. Tan Xiao nodded. Understood. The man nodded. Half an hour later. The 2 cars drove to the underground parking lot of the Emerald Grand Hotel in Fukang's provincial capital. After parking the cars, the 7 of them took the elevator to the 18th floor. Just as he walked out of the elevator, Tang Xiao saw a middle-aged man with glasses standing outside. He looked gentle and refined. Boss. Chen Xiaohua's eyes lit up upon seeing Tan Xiao and he bowed to salute. Tan Xiao observed him and nodded, you're Chen Xiaohua, right? That's me. Chen Xiaohua replied with a smile. Tan Xiu waved his hand and walked toward the corridor while asking, how did you come to Fukang? Does our everlasting feast hall also have an antique business in Zhou City? Chen Xiaohua accompanied Tan Xiu and said while walking, there are indeed several antique shops in Zhou City, all of which are our everlasting feast hall's businesses. But I came here this time because I have something to ask you, boss. What is it? Tan Xiu asked in surprise. Chen Xiaohua said, boss, let's talk in the room. I've already prepared the tea and have been waiting for your arrival. A strange look flashed across Tan Xiu's eyes as he nodded. Soon, under the guidance of Chen Xiaohua, Tan Xiu entered a presidential suite. The 6 men he brought with him stayed in the corridor. Drinking tea is just a cover, isn't it? Tell me, what are you trying to do? Chen Xiaohua stood in front of Tan Xiu and said with a smile, boss, first of all, I'd like to report to you about the cultivation situation. I have already converted all the true qi in my body into true essence, and my strength has increased by another level. Thank you for your trust and cultivation. I will carry out any orders you give me in the future. Tan Xiu gestured for him to sit down. After Chen Xiaohua sat opposite Tan Xiu, he said again, boss, what I want to ask you is, do you think there are other worlds outside our world? Tan Xiu narrowed his eyes and nodded, there are. Chen Xiaohua's spirit shook and he said, boss, I have something for you to appraise. After saying that, he took out a piece of ore from his pocket and bowed before Tan Xiu. 7-colored Luan Phoenix Stone. Tan Xiu's complexion greatly changed after he saw the stone with a 7-colored halo of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. After quickly grabbing it in his hand, his spiritual sense had already wrapped the 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone. After inspection, this was an ordinary 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone. But even if it was ordinary, if it was placed in the immortal world, it was likely that countless powerhouses would fight for it. Even the supreme-level characters in the immortal world would drool over it. 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone was an excellent material for refining immortal tools. A fist-sized 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone could be refined into a supreme-grade immortal tool. In the past, Tan Xiu had several supreme-grade immortal tools, 2 of which were mixed with 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone. When used, their power was much stronger than other supreme-grade immortal tools. Chen Xiaohua, where did you get this ore? With a solemn expression, Tan Xiu stared at Chen Xiaohua and asked. Chen Xiaohua's complexion slightly changed and said, Longquan Mountain in the west. Tell me how you got it, said Tan Xiu. Boss, you also know that I manage the antiques business of our everlasting feast hall, said Chen Xiaohua. I heard that there are a lot of precious antiques in the west due to special reasons. That's why I brought some people here. About 2 months ago, we arrived at Longquan Mountain and found that the environment there was good. There are more than 100 villagers living in Longquan Mountain, and they have some old objects left from ancient times. I spent some money to buy those old objects. However, the road in Longquan Mountain is very difficult to walk on, so we stayed there for a night. At night, we had nothing to do, so we went hunting in the mountain and lost our way. Longquan Mountain may seem to have a beautiful environment, but it's actually very dangerous. That night, we encountered terrible fierce beasts and almost lost our lives there several times. As a result, we stumbled into a forest and found that the air there was very fresh, much fresher than anywhere else. Even breathing it made us feel comfortable all over. However, there were also very powerful fierce beasts in that forest. We were forced to go deeper and deeper. Later on, we found a tomb with an open entrance. We had no choice but to go in, only to find that we seemed to have entered another world. There were flowers and grass, blue sky, and white clouds. Most importantly, more than 80% of the plants and beasts inside were things we had never seen before. In addition, there were a lot of fierce beasts inside. Even speaking up to there, Chen Xiaohua stopped and a bit of fear could be seen in his eyes. Even what? Asked Tan Xiu in a deep voice. We even found the shadow of a dragon there, said Chen Xiaohua in a low voice. It was a pitch-black dragon with 5 claws. The black dragon was about 5 meters long and spewed out black flames. It was very terrifying. We saw the black flames sprayed on a boulder weighing tens of thousands of kilograms, and the boulder melted into liquid. Go on. Tan Xiu said. Chen Xiaohua said, we didn't go too deep, because it would only lead to death. So we quickly went back the way we came, and it took a lot of effort to come out alive. After I returned to Jingmen Island, I told the little boss about it, but the little boss asked me to keep it a secret. Tan Xiu frowned. He had never heard Gu Xiaoxue mention this matter. It wasn't until we learned the cultivation technique from old Ji that I suddenly realized that the air in the place we had been to was particularly fresh because it was full of rich world energy, continued Chen Xiaohua. After I transformed all the true qi in my body into true essence, I mentioned this matter to the little boss again. Therefore, the little boss asked me to come here to find you and tell you what I know. But what? Asked Tan Xiu. But the little boss asked me to tell you something. It's very dangerous there, and he hopes you can be cautious, said Chen Xiaohua. It's best not to go there for the time being and wait. Tan Xiu finally understood why Gu Xiaoxue didn't tell him before. She was well aware of his own strength, and was afraid that he would rush there regardless of the danger after hearing about the small world. Chen Xiaojie. You must never tell anyone about this matter except for me and Gu Xiaoxue. That place is not something we can enter now, unless we're tired of living. One day in the future, when our strength becomes stronger, I'll take you there. I understand, boss. Chen Xiaohua nodded. You can rest assured. Give me this 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone. Tan Xiu said. Tell me a weapon, and I'll help you refine a divine weapon later. Chen Xiaohua's eyes lit up and immediately said, a dagger would be the best. I found that you all like to use daggers, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Just wait. When I use this 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone, I'll refine a dagger for you. By the way, you brought this 7-colored Luan Phoenix stone out from that small world. What else did you bring out? I found that this stone is different from the others. It seems to be a rare ore, said Chen Xiaohua with a forced smile. We only found this piece inside. As for the other things, we didn't bring them out. I have to say that you're very lucky to be able to come out alive with your strength. Tan Xiu nodded. Alright, let's stop here. Go back and tell Gu Xiaoxue to rest assured that I won't go there in a short time. I'll keep it in mind. Chen Xiaohua nodded. Are you free at noon? Asked Tan Xiu. Let's have lunch together. Understood. Chen Xiaohua was pleasantly surprised and his attitude became more respectful. After lunch, Chen Xiaohua left the Emerald Hotel, and the presidential suite he booked naturally became Tan Xiu's residence. However, his buttocks had yet to warm up when he received a call from the old patriarch. Grandpa, what did you say? That's it. Tan Xiu's brows were deeply furrowed and he was a bit annoyed inside. His next battle plan had been completed, yet the old patriarch said that the Yao family had taken the initiative to admit defeat and wanted to end the game between Guanyang and Fukang. Let's stop for the time being. What our Tang family needs the most now is time. According to the plan I've drawn up, the Tang family's accumulated wealth for decades will all be poured into it. We must train more talents in the next 3 to 5 years. I want the Tang family to return to its heyday in 10 years at most, or even surpass its heyday, said Tang Guisheng with all seriousness. Tan Xiu was silent for a while before he helplessly said, all right. Since you've decided, then I'll obey. It's a pity. I thought I could make a fortune by playing the game with the Yao, Sun, and Yang families. But now it seems that I can only fish for some benefits. What benefits? Tang Guisheng was confused. Today is Valentine's Day. Quiet Night can only update the last chapter. There's no way to add more chapters. Please understand, brothers and sisters. I'll definitely return the monthly votes later. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.